Hello, everyone. I think you can hear me. Let me see. I didn't control it. Oh, okay. Wait, there might be a problem with the microphone. Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. I'd like to see people in the chat if they can hear me. Meanwhile, I'll try to fix my something's up with my microphone. Okay, I think I fixed it. So, I think this should be doing it. Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. Hopefully, you're all doing well. Um, just wanted to do a stream as it says in the title. Metropolitan Saba made a recent talk that was uploaded on the Antiochian Orthodox Church website on converts, and what I have in mind, what I'm planning, if we get enough people, is just kind of like just go through every single paragraph that we have, because we're not going to be listening to the video. There's a transcript. Thank God there's a transcript. So we're going to look through the transcript. And I'm saying thank God, because it will be difficult to kind of just listen to a video, then pause. It will be kind of difficult. And I am kind of winging it, so I didn't take any notes. We're just going to read and give, feedback. And in some parts, I mean, I guess not constructive criticism on his behalf, because I don't really have anything much to say. I don't know much about Metropolitan Saba. I'm just thankful that he is calling into attention. I've heard many good things about him. I think most people in the chat have heard the same. Uh, and uh, and yeah, we got some people in the chat. There you got the okay. This is yeah. Now people are not going to be able to unsee that. Um, he's the last person I want to look like. Um, Iran, no, you ran. Good one. Is your mustache a lighter color than your scalp? No, I think it's just the light coming from the roof. That's why. And yeah, it's just a different place. I also want to just a note, because I want to shout out someone very important. Flexes. Thank you. I didn't get the camera yet. He gifted me a camera. It's very kind of him. He actually did it months ago, but the whole like the thing traveling situation was just difficult. The camera, that is, because it was going from a different country to an entire different country, and it was kind of a process. But it's kind of I'm not using a camera now. It's a new laptop. That's why the camera is much better. I'll It's still at my friends. I'll get it from my friends, and we'll see. It should be available soon. So yes, bro got ruptured and is streaming from heaven. I wish. Not the ruptured part, because it's fake, but the from heaven part. When did I remove Anhan from the channel? I mean, I just didn't. I just over time didn't like it, and I just want to keep things simple, like just David, and that's it. I might change again in the future, like add another pseudonym. I mean, but I don't know. I just thought about it. I thought about when I was giving it. Like, oh yeah, there are reasons, and then I said I don't like those reasons anymore. So um, has nothing to do with nationalism or anything like that. By the way, has nothing to do with my actual surname either. If people had that, yeah, I just again, we'll see. We'll see in the future. Um, so I think this is gonna again. Once we start with the transcript, I really want you to kind of chime in. I don't want, like, I usually don't try to moderate the chat too much, um, because I know the chat likes to talk about anything. Like, there's always a debate about something entirely different in the chat, and it's just I can't really control it. Like, you can't expect me to say, "Chat, don't talk about that topic, please." I mean, I tried, I tried doing that. Obviously, it doesn't work, but um, I think it will be really fruitful to kind of just have an exchange of ideas, because this is something really important. It is a reality that, especially in the West, but I will say in the entire in the entire world, um, that there's a rise of people becoming Orthodox Christians, right? Orthodox Christianity is gaining more and more popularity. It's getting more and more well known. It's becoming more open, especially when you look at it from a historical standpoint. I mean, for a very long time, Orthodoxy has kind of been shut off, right, due to geopolitical reasons, and that has turned the people um, into like it has transformed the character of a lot of people in Greece, in Bulgaria, Romania, even in Russia. Like their character ended up becoming transformed because they became a lot more they were in survival mode, right? In the sense like literal survival mode, um, as people for hundreds of years, and now that's changing, right? That's slowly changing, and it's important that we or well, yeah, the Orthodox Christians adapt to the culture, to the situation in the world. So it will be good to kind of discuss that. Anyways, I hope you're all doing well. Also, I forgot to shout out in the last video. I forgot to shout out Norbert Purcell. So sorry about that. Shout outs to him for supporting me. And let's let's actually begin. How do I think no. No, that's too small. Sorry, this boomer tech. Yeah, I mean this works. With my small head, I mean it fits with the thing. Um, and yeah, I think we can start. I guess people are going to be more interested in watching the replay, but we'll see with lunch. I mean, um, here's his take. We panned into his take. Orthodox, which can be better for us or worse, isn't something mainstream at all. God bless the colonists, but the real, yeah, I mean, it's not. It's not mainstream. I mean, it's not the topic of Hollywood movies. It's not something that people discuss every single day. It's something that it's dissident, right? It's more so in the corners of the internet. It's not something that's discussed. But I do believe at some point in the future, there's a chance that it's going to be, um, and because it's not just the rate of increase, and I'm not like going on a triumphalistic run, saying something like, "Oh, Orthodoxy is going big, Orthodox is going huge, we're gonna make it," and stuff like that. But it's kind of just like, in the United States, the youngest Christian group is Orthodoxy, right? Orthodox are the youngest Christians, and that's very significant. That means there's a lot of young people, there's a lot of young adults, meaning there's a lot of young families. These people are having children, right? And they're going to give birth to the next generation. And you're going to have a lot of, and you already have some like like children of converts, maybe first, even like second generation, for example. And it's really important that that is maintained because modern world is very difficult when it comes to being religious, and things like that. And also like yeah, I mean just kind of like how things are going to go. It's just uh, something that's going to happen over time, and I think you can't really predict what's going to happen, right? Fully, but uh, I predict that it will go mainstream for non-Orthodox Europeans. Maybe, yeah, but for in the bad reasons, I mean, it's not easy. Here's the thing: it's not really like super easy to accuse a religious organization. You have to have a lot of lobbying power to be able to like systemically attack entire religious groups. Like, for example, oh, the Romanian Orthodox Church has canonized this fascist guy. They're really bad because of that. There's a lot of like, it's something currently, and I think also in the future, something that only like Tumblrite Redditors are going to care about so far, because it's not easy to attack it mainstream. But if it becomes a threat to the world order, which I think it's going to be at some point, then yes, that's going to begin. But I think it needs to go mainstream first, and then the reaction will come. That's kind of what I think. Anyways, we can start with Metropolitan Saba speech, and just in general about Metropolitan Saba. As I said, I don't know much about him. I'm not in the Antiochian jurisdiction. I don't know like super a lot about the Antiochian jurisdiction, not only in the United States but also just in general. I mean, in the old world, we have some Antiochian like people from Antioch that migrated to Constantinople because of the earthquake, but not clerically. Um, but from what I've heard from reliable people, uh, they have nothing but good things to say about him, and they think it's not just because he's traditional. And one thing I also want to note, he has a another like epistle or letter he wrote on the Monophsists, on the non-Chalcedonians, and I think that was very positive of him to do, especially considering that it's coming from Antioch. So, from what I've seen, he seems to be a very good bishop, um, and I hope that's true. And I have positive feelings about him for the most part. Well, for the whole part, because as I said, I don't have a lot of information about him and about the Antiochian Church in the United States, but I do have a lot of information about people becoming Orthodox. Um, he, in fact, in the speech mentioned like a poll, I think from the OCA, like it was brought to the OCA and some clergy in the OCA, and I posted about it. It was from I think a year ago. I think it was yeah, just like literally a year ago. And maybe you some of you remembered. I mean, I remember it still. Like it had an Orthodox influencers list, like people who influenced you into becoming Orthodox, and there was a top 10 list, and I was there on the 10th place. So I'm very, I was very happy. I was very surprised to see that. I didn't know what I was doing was that useful. But of course, took a long break. Anyways, I think as far as I think he referenced that. I think there was another convert study that he might have also referenced. Again, I'm not super up to speed about a lot of those things, but that's what I remember. So I'd like to I'd like to begin with uh, I'd like to begin with the first paragraph. For centuries, the New World has drawn successive waves of migration. Most of the 20th century, there was a modest Orthodox presence that remained largely confined to Orthodox communities across North America, especially in the big cities. So he's talking about immigrants, and Orthodoxy came to be known as the Eastern Church because of the immigrants, Greeks, Slavs, Syrians, etc. And it's very interesting that he knows rather than by their apostolic faith. So I think this is a very positive actually statement because he knows like the most important thing is the faith, right? So he's kind of pointing out that being characterized by right like the ethnic community that the church comes from is not something that he'd really like. And to their credit, especially I see a lot of like Greek people, like really like Orthodox Greek people, like they like to emphasize this point that the church is Orthodox, right? Like it's Orthodox first and foremost. Of course, there's a history, but that's the primary thing. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that do it the other way, like the exact opposite. And I think that's a huge issue. Um, but I think that's more of an issue in the old world. I don't think it's a super big issue in the United States. You don't have a lot of like it's starting to becoming phased out. It's still a thing, but um, patriotism and kind of like the acknowledgement of the earthly culture has to be ordered in the correct way. So we can't go to the extreme opposite and say it's completely useless. Like obviously, um, there's neither Greek nor Jew, as Saint Paul says. But well, hey, Saint Paul does speak about Greeks and Jews. So there is a level in which they do exist. So that has to be recognized in a healthy way. However, the change that took place in Western society in general, and among American Christians in particular, pushed some to search for the original roots of Christianity. So he's basically saying this, right? Um, Protestantism, especially, just completely moved away from Christianity, and I will even say, like Vatican II, right? Like those two things really made a lot of people lose their faith because of religious indifferentism. And I don't know if he has exact that in mind, but I will say like especially the 60s in the West was basically the religious 9/11 in the United States. I think that's really when things started to take a massive downturn. And Roman Catholics, we talk about this themselves too, right? Like Vatican II was horrible for him. This is also the time when a lot of like subjective Protestant, charismatic uh, people and followers start to become propped up. And of course, there was also the support of this from the United States. There's a geopolitical aspect of it. But anyways, yeah. So this is also the time when I know I remember this quite well. I mean, not remember this, not as if I lived it, but I also am aware that a lot of like the Buddhism stuff became popular about around like the after the 60s as well. It was already popular in some circles, but it started to become more on the popular. I mean, when you think about it, like everything changed in the 60s in the United States. I mean, there's so many like demographic changes, religious changes, like social changes. Um, it seems like the entire world changed in the 60s, like something just snapped. They discovered that the faith once delivered to the saints had been preserved in the Orthodox Church, and they turned to it. Thus began and yeah, I mean, he just succinctly explained like this is why people become Orthodox. It's not because of the smells and bells. I don't think it's because of this, right? Like they are looking for authenticity, and he like excellently just points out, yeah, this is they're looking for authentic Christianity, and they found it. They happened to find it in the Orthodox Church. Thus began the first large wave of converts, at least in the Antiochian church, and then this is why I suppose the Antiochian church is very like convert heavy because of that history. Again, I'm not like super hyper knowledgeable about this. I'm just I just know the surface level, right? Like what you hear in the parishes. These new Orthodox took upon themselves the task of evangelizing the Orthodox faith in the land, and their children and grandchildren were raised Orthodox. So let's see. Uh, let's see. All right, some people in the chat. Nothing really to comment on that, right? Other than obviously this is what should happen. By the end of the 20th century, we always thought that the century of immigration for Orthodox Christian in America had ended, but then the comes world collapse, right? There's a new wave of immigration due to the like both East and West Germany being reconciled, Soviet Union collapsing, and just the world in general becoming more and more open, right? Like in terms of like population, like people being able to move to different countries, that being more and more open. Of course, it started with again the 60s, but I think a lot of people really started to migrate to the West, like at this time. Uh, 2 decades later came what, and he talks about the economic problems in Greece. Um, yeah, I mean, huge brain drain. 2 decades later came what was called the Arab Spring, and that's how you get a lot of people from the Middle East. So it's like he talks about the oikoumene. I mean, it's kind of funny. The United States kind of became a little like Roman Empire in a sense. Like it had so many different people from the rest of the world, so many different identities, and of course, your Orthodox were part of that, part of the people who were moved to the United States. The growth of the conversion movement, for various reasons, contributed to making Orthodoxy a known religion in North America. Well, I will say academically, yes. At that time, like a lot of academic research really increased. Um, and he cites his predecessor, Metropolitan Philip. Oh yeah, I heard this quote: "The best kept secret in America. Orthodoxy is the best kept secret in America." Right? This is a quote. So I want to give my thoughts because it's less like Metropolitan Philip probably meant good, right? But the way it is used, and I want to hear you guys' thoughts in the chat about this. I don't like this quote. Again, the way Metropolitan Philip probably meant is that orthodoxy is such a treasure, right? It's such a significant treasure, and it really fits well with the United States religiously, but it's just people don't know about it. So that's kind of the meaning that he had. But a lot of people, let me just get the attention to myself. A lot of people have used this in the sense that, oh, we're the best kept secret in America, and that's a good thing. It's like they were some part of a secret club. I really got that. I don't like to say the word why, but yeah, I got that. I get that vibe every time I heard it when I was in the United States, when I hear it in social media. I hear this really often. We Orthodox, we don't like go around and try to preach and evangelize to people. We are America's best kept secret, right? We focus on ourselves, and they'll quote the Saint Seraphim of Sorrow. Like I'm not even gonna quote because everyone has probably heard it so many times. Everyone already knows it. Even non-Orthodox have probably heard of the famous, you know, uh, be holy, and 1,000 souls around you will be saved, right? And people have used this as if it's okay to just stay where we are. Oh yeah, we have some few special converts, right? We're the special converts. We joined in. Now we're in a comfortable situation. We can just sit and just, opine about how we are the special people. We've encountered a huge secret, and we just don't tell people to get into it when they're not ready, right? And I felt this when I was becoming Orthodox. Like, um, the priests and other people were constantly saying, are you sure about this? Are you sure about, like, they were constantly like saying, like, are you sure that you want to be Orthodox? And on a level, I understand why they were saying that, and I myself will advocate people to caution other people, because there's a lot of people who get really excited, and then 2 3 months later they leave, and it's just kind of like a childish, like they're just super excited about it, and then their excitement runs out, and they run to the next thing, right? I understand that that's a thing that happened a lot, right? Um, Guess what? It happens even in Turkey. You won't even believe it. Like, even in Turkey, it happens. So definitely happened in the United States many, many different times. Um, so I understand that, but I don't. I did not like the attitude some people had about it. Like, it being the best kept secret in America was not a good thing. Orthodoxy, like, Christianity, should be preached, right? It should be evangelized. Right? Christ says this, right? Like, evangelize, spread the gospel to the entire world. That's a command, and we are called to follow. Of course, not everyone is called to evangelize in the same exact method. Not everyone is called to evangelize, like going to the streets, knocking doors, obviously. But it doesn't mean that we could just do our own prayers in our homes. We could just be, which, by the way, like, we could just be holy in our homes. But it's kind of, it is kind of prideful, right? Like, oh, you're trying to be holy. That's a good thing. But a lot of people act as if them trying to be holy means that they are holy, and they start to speak as if they are, and that's not good either. That's not a good spirit to have either. um Anyways, I mean, I'm not saying people that think this is good, I'm just saying they're misguided, right? I'm not saying that they're prideful or anything like that. I'm just saying it's very misguided, and it's not a good way to understand that Orthodoxy is the best kept secret in America. But again, like, what do you think? I mean, maybe I'm completely off. This is just what I have experienced. So uh, so John Allen says, it seems to me that Orthodoxy was hidden from most Americans. We never knew about it or didn't pay attention because it was rare, or seemingly just an ethnic enclave. Yeah, I mean that's basically what Metropolitan Philip. I I had someone explain it to me, or someone else, and I witnessed it rather. This is what they said, right? Like, this is basically what he meant. And in that sense, yes, it is the best. It's the best kept secret in the entire world. But anyways, all right. Well, let's move on to rest of what he says. Just wanted to share my. If anyone has any comments further, like what I said, what he says, always free, right? I'm interested. I'm especially interested to hear your thoughts, both about um, Metropolitan Saba, what he says, and also just in general, like, on my thoughts. Maybe I'm completely off, or I don't think I'm completely off. I do think I'm on the mark, but feedback, I think, is very important to have, right? In regards, because this is, again, very important, and there's going to be very important parts that he talks about that we have to have a very serious discussion about. Motives for conversion. There is no doubt that the abundance and variety of Protestant churches and their difference from one another are one reason many Protestants seek the authentic church. There is a popular hunger for Christian authenticity in America. In an apologetic sense, very simply, Protestants are looking for normative authority. And this is something that maybe I'll have a different video. I just want to touch on this very shortly, but especially if there are Protestants watching this. There's one thing I recently saw on Twitter. There's some Protestant pastor who is arguing for polygamy, rather polygyny, like having multiple wives. And it's like, according to my interpretation, this is what I think. And I'm not going to say that, oh, Protestantism allows for, like, no, obviously Protestantism definitely will not allow for this. But the problem here is that the reason why this happens in Protestantism, we have to ask ourselves, like, why does this happen in Protestant but not in Roman Catholicism or in Orthodoxy or another? Why does this happen in Protestantism? right? And again, this is not a statement about, oh, Protestants have these weird things happening. No, this is just like, I'm critiquing the system here, right? The system allows for this. It's because there's no normative authority in Protestantism because of sola scriptura, right? Sola scriptura means no normative authority, because ultimately scripture is the authority, and there is no interpretive normativeness. That is, there is no body, right, within the Protestant communion that will say, for example, maybe they will have a creed, right? The Nicene Creed or another different creed, right? Like whatever, Apostles' Creed or not Athanasian, not creed, right? Like something where they will say, these are articles of faith. You either believe in these things or you're just not Christian, right? You are outside of Christianity. Now, in Protestantism, the most they will do is that you are outside. They will say that you will be outside of or specific Protestant body, but we won't judge you to be not Christian. That will be too mean. Um, that is the problem that I'm talking about. The reason why that like pro polygyny pastor exists in Protestantism, obviously he probably was like rebuked by a lot of his congregation. I don't know the full story, but it's probably, I assume that's what happened. I hope that's what happened. But it's just that he can now establish his own community, Christian community, and if you call that community, you're not Christians, I mean, it will kind of be inconsistent, right? Because again, according to what authority? It will still be your subjective interpretive authority. So my take is ultimately that the big thing, this is not like the most important thing, but the big thing a lot of Protestants are seeking, I think, is normative authority. That's why in the United States, a lot of people are becoming Roman Catholics too, because they see the Pope and, oh, he's going to make all the decisions for me and everything's so easy, and that's the easy choice, right? But I think that's a serious issue. Of course, the other reasons, which he also talks about, is because Orthodoxy is the authentic Christian faith. Whereas, right, for example, within Roman Catholicism, especially with Vatican II, you have a lot of like dumbing down of the faith. Like it has moved from the high to, like, it's supposed to lift what's low to the heights. The condescension, like of course, there's a condescension mechanic, but it's supposed to lift you up. But with Roman Catholicism, it's just the thing that's high up, is going down so that the people like can join, but they're not being lifted up, right? Um, that's why you have, again, a lot of dumbing down of liturgical traditions and the way the tradition, like certain Christian traditions, for example, fasting. I'm not going to act as if like I'm a super parent. Like this is not a personal thing again. And there's a lot of Roman Catholics that actually do care about fasting. But as a whole, when we're talking about the Roman Catholic Church, for example, when it comes to, I mean, it kind of has become a joke. It hasn't been. It like the Lenten fast. I'm not saying they have to be doing the things exactly like the Orthodox do. I'm not saying anything like that. But I mean, um, it's way too lax, right? And again, it's not a problem that it's lax. It's that like they are in laxity while also talking about, oh, this is our sacrificial meal. Like you'll have an entire like fish and chips. Oh, my sacrificial meal of penance. Fish and chips is not a sacrificial meal of penance. That's what I'm trying to say. Um, I mean, if it's the only meal that you have, maybe you can make an argument at the release. Like that day, it's the only meal. Okay, you fasted for a significant amount of hours. Okay, like maybe then you can make the case, but like that's not like a main thing, right? That's like a super common thing, at least from what I've seen in contemporary, like things like this. Um, Orthodoxy takes itself seriously, and religions should be taking themselves seriously. And Protestantism and Roman Catholic, because it doesn't take itself seriously on an institutional level, a lot of people are moving away from those religions. This is kind of what I've seen, what I have seen with this. Let's see. All right, just checking the chat. All right, let's move on. Over the last 5 centuries, Protestantism has developed its own tradition, while at the same time rejecting the fullness of holy tradition, right? Of course, this rejection of the fullness of the holy tradition is that Yes, there are traditions in Protestantism, a Calvinist tradition, a Lutheran tradition. Within those traditions, there are traditions of traditions, but these traditions are ultimately, they're not normative, right? They're kind of things that, like, they are there to merely assist, right? Like assist how you interpret scriptures the way that they will explain it, the release. Um, for example, Protestants will say if you deny the Nicene Creed, then you're outside of fold. Like, I guess there will be some that will say that, but you won't really be able to enforce that, right? Today, however, many ask how they can accept the Protestant tradition that began with Luther's movement and grew and developed to the present day, yet reject a tradition that goes back to the beginning of Christianity. Yeah, I mean, we see this all the time. Like they'll say fourth century, like, oh, this tradition is from the fourth century. It's very late. It's like you're starting the 16th century. I mean, if you're talking about late, then if fourth century is late, then yeah, 16th century. I mean, that's bye bye. As for the rootlessness that has prevailed in many evangelical settings, I like this word rootlessness. It's a very polemical and strong word, I think. It remains the greatest driver for those seeking a firm, unchanging faith, for the faith once delivered to the saints. These motives apply especially to those coming to orthodoxy from evangelical backgrounds. There are also other Christians, atheists, non religious, right? People from all different sections of life, and they are drawn to the authenticity of Orthodox worship in its sacred arts, iconography, church music, right? Hymn into this, and the aesthetics of the church, whether we're talking about a high aesthetics or whether we're talking about a church that doesn't have a lot of means, right, but still composes something that is liturgically fulfilling. Many find in the spirituality of the Orthodox Church both accountability and discipline amid the decadence and compartmentalization of contemporary life. I mean, this is completely true. Um, like when you, for example, again, fast, or you do confession, or you try to conduct spiritual warfare, right? And you're just trying to live an Orthodox life. It's not just, believe in Jesus Christ and repent and you'll be saved. It's not like this kind of like formulaic understanding, but every part of your life, from like what you eat, what you watch, what you listen to, orthodoxy creeps in over time, right? And it's not like in a evangelical sense where like, oh, if you watch Harry Potter, Harry Potter is Satanism. You should not watch Harry Potter, or anything like that. It's not anything like that, but it's kind of just um, allowing it to become a part of your life. It's not like, oh, I shouldn't watch Harry Potter because my pastor said it's satanic, but it's kind of like I shouldn't watch Harry Potter. I mean, should I watch Harry Potter? Is it really going to be beneficial for my soul? Or is it just something I'm just doing to, you know, spend time as a hobby? And look, hobbies aren't bad. Like people need hobbies. People need to spend time doing things in their free time. I mean, it's a necessity for human beings, but just kind of like reorienting the way one thinks about anything in life. Again, with what they eat, right? Is this food fulfilling for me? Is this thing that I'm watching? Is this thing that I'm reading? Is it spiritually benefiting me, or is it actually damaging my soul? It allows one to contemplate one's spiritual life, anything that they're engaged in at the same time. So I absolutely agree. And you don't see this accountability in any other Christian, lowercase Christian religion. Social media also plays a large role in introducing American society to orthodoxy, prompting many to look for the nearest Orthodox church and become acquainted with it. This is absolutely true. Because orthodoxy was, in the past century, a church of ethnic communities, it drew the attention of many non-Orthodox to certain beauties of the cultures Orthodox Christians brought from their countries of origin. Family life, hospitality, friendship, community, cuisine, and the like. Yeah. And it's very important that all of these things, yes, there are aspects of this in like culture, right? For example, even if they're not like really Orthodox, like Greek families are still, there's a strong hospitality, there's strong friendship, strong community, right? Like Orthodox has seeped into their national culture in that regard. And it's manifested, right, in a lot of these ethnic communities, right? Of course, saying this in a positive way. But it's important to point out again that it's Orthodox Christianity that's the foundation for this. And I'm not not saying this in the sense that like only Orthodox Christians are like this. Not at all. But in these cultures, it's Orthodox Christianity is the backbone for these values. This is what I'm trying to say. And this is why a lot of people think that Orthodox Christianity will be very beneficial for the United States, right? It's because like these things that we have lost. Well, not I'm not American, but I guess like we in the rest of the world and people, especially in the United States, and again, everyone in the rest of the world, I think, have lost these very important values and qualities that Orthodox Christianity by nature brings. Of course, that's not the only reason, but it's again, it's a very positive thing that it gives to a society, to a civilization. Many of our priests also observe that Orthodox resistance to commercial spirit gives it credibility in a world where faith has become consumer commodity. Right. While the blood of our many and recent martyrs give it further credibility, there is no relativism in Orthodoxy nor populist emotional mass appeal. This is exactly why people want to become Orthodox. If you're going to get like, and there's many aspects of this. It's not just like society, right? It's not just like let's have rock music and like it's even in things that you wouldn't expect. Like for example, in theology, I mean, for example, like these days you see a lot of Latinizers, people who are trying to import scholastic, Western Middle Ages terminology into Orthodoxy because they just want to have a stronger dialogue with Roman Catholicism and explain it in this way. Like we want to explain our faith in scholastic categories, but again, that's actually this is a form of some kind of like populism and mass appeal, right? You're trying to make orthodoxy that's in your image, orthodoxy, into something that is uh like you're bringing again what's high to somewhere low, and you're keeping it there, right? You're not allowing the elevator to go up, you're making the elevator stay low. And it's important that orthodoxy, as it is in essence, needs to stay pure. Um, and this is why, again, people like orthodoxy. It's because it is pure, right? It's pure by nature. That's why people are interested. That's why Roman Catholics, even when they talk about how ortho bros are evil and I hate things, dang ortho bros, they're so, and they can't stop fangirling over orthodoxy or fanboying over orthodoxy, right? They can't stop, right? They love it. That's why they tell people become Eastern Catholic, right? So you can be Orthodox in communion with Rome, as if such thing is actually, in reality, in a spiritual sense, possible. It's not possible, but um, again, this is why people like Orthodoxy, and Orthodox Christians have a very no nonsense attitude, and people think it's mean. Sometimes there are people that make it mean, but the meanness is, I think, super overblown. It's super overblown, and it's actually the reason why people like Orthodoxy. That's why people become Orthodox. It's not they don't like the feels good Protestant kumbaya nonsense that you see a lot of, even from their apologists. It's all about feeling good about themselves. It's all about having good feelies in their tummies. It's not about going to your Protestant grandma and say, Protestant grandma, you're like totally like 100% Christian, even though you're not Orthodox, because all this kind of stuff, I mean, it's all about Jesus, right? It's uh, all of these things are just, again, dumbing down the faith, right? And it's not taking spiritual warfare, spiritual reality seriously enough as it should be. Um, and that's what I think. I like to check the chat if uh, I mean, it seems like there's a lot of things, but I just want to see. Uh, it seems there's a debate that uh, internet orthodoxy, especially that I've made for most Protestants convert to orthodoxy. Yeah, I mean, people like him and have done amazing jobs, right? It's through God's grace, right? That's done, but of course, um, I guess that debate is from that, but yeah. Uh, obviously, we can't take it literally, or the internet is the best thing, but it's kind of the point is that it's useful, and the Metropolitan himself says the internet has been very useful in inviting people. So I don't see any. Um, uh, yeah, it's just I don't know. Yeah, people fighting each other. Anyways, let's move on. If people are going to fight each other, then I'm just not whatever. Um, Social media also plays a large role in. Okay, we already read this. In short, as one of the priests who responded to a survey I circulated put it regarding this century. Yeah, this is the survey. Oh, I guess it's not. He's talking about a different survey. I think. Yeah, I think it was the more recent survey that he's talking about. The century of the Church of Immigrants has ended. The century of evangelization has begun. Very important. Orthodoxy's mission is no longer primarily geographical from Antioch to America, but existential. It's a very key point because, and I think he does he talk about no. All right, because there's a lot of background to this, right? Especially after, I will say, the 14th century, the Orthodox world started to enter into a survival mode. It wasn't it before that. It was concerned with evangelization, right? It cared about evangelizing to people, or the Western Church, right before before the schism, was evangelizing. The Orthodox Church in the Roman Empire was evangelizing. That's how Russia became Orthodox, and evangelizing various different parts of the population. And after, I will say again, the 13th, 14th century, due to geopolitical circumstances, mainly the decline of the Roman Empire, and the rise of the Ottoman Turks, and them being captive under the Ottoman administration, has its entire story, uh, really changed the mindset of a lot of Orthodox Christians, right? Um, in whether you look at Alexandria, Jerusalem, like Antioch, like the Middle East, Anatolia, back when before they were um, genoktonokted. Um, Greek speakers know what I'm talking about. Um, Before they were genoktonokted, and people in the Balkans, even, it was a situation of survival mode. And a big reason why is because, as a Christian, you were not allowed to evangelize in uh, Islamic lands, because according to Sharia, if a Muslim converts to a different religion, then they are right, and the person who made them convert is also. And if it's a community that made this happen, then that community as a whole, right? So they had to walk a very tight rope, and like as a geopolitical reality, evangelization just became impossible. And you have to think. I mean, it's really um, it's really crazy how the methodology of preventing evangelization has been devised by the devil, right? Anyways, and this lasted for a very long time. And of course, you had Russia, you had missions from Russia, and this is why Russians still typically have a mission culture, right? You see this in different parts of the world. I mean, maybe not necessarily in the United States, but actually in different parts of the world, there's still the mission culture that a lot of Russians have. But the rest of the world didn't share that until very recently, until the liberation of the Balkans. And over time, after the world wars, this started to develop more and more. So with a lot of people, with a lot of Orthodox people, like if you go to, for example, an Islamic country, they have a lot of zeal about like converting people. Like they really want to convert people, right? Like we need to invite people to Islam, and they have all of these, like they devise all of these various different um, strategies, and even like thinking about the smallest points, like okay, how can we make them like Islam more? Okay, we have to focus on this. We have to focus on, like they're thinking about all of these small details to make Islam more appealing, which is why um, a lot of like people who will even listen to you, the moment you start to explain why you think Orthodoxy is convincing, they'll say, wait, bro, are you trying to evangelize me? Like, because they know that this is a tactic that they themselves do, right? So, um, anyways, I mean, it's not like the United States. Like in the United States, you can argue, you can debate, and people think it's normal, right? It's like they will say, well, yeah, of course you will explain why your religion makes sense, and of course we're going to listen, and if it makes sense, we'll agree, and if it doesn't, we'll disagree. But in different parts of the world, people don't think this way, right? Especially in Islamic, like they think all of these different things to convince people. But then you look at Orthodox countries, and obviously it's good in the sense that they don't have ulterior motives. That's really good. But it's also not so good in the sense that they don't have any expectations. A lot of these people, as I said, have absolutely zero expectation. They don't really expect anything, right? They kind of just say, oh, you're interested in Orthodox. That's interesting. Why would you be interested? And like you have to like tell them like, I want to become Orthodox. Like it's like why? Like they won't say, wow, that's excellent. Wow, that's great. They will say, why? But it's completely foreign to their mindset. And you know, I used to not like it at all. I used to get kind of frustrated of this man, but now I understand. It's because it's history. It's actually history, right? This is part of their. It's history has shaped their mindset in a bad way, unfortunately, and um, it takes time for a lot of these people to kind of when I would like to assume these are good meaning people that I'm talking about. Um, that needs to take time, and especially this is why like a lot of these people coming into the United States are adapting quite quickly. This is why but you still have a lot of people who'll talk about converts, they don't know anything. I know the most, and the people saying this like they don't even read the Bible. um, they don't go to church, they only go on feast days. They just know, like they say that they know is like some stories that their grandmother told them, right? That's what they're talking about. And they're talking, oh, converts, we have no need for you. We're Greek or we're Russian, we're Romanian. Like, what do you like? You guys can have your own thing. Just stay away from us. Like, kind of. And obviously, that's very negative. But those are it's a minority on the internet. It's not a real thing, I think. Um, uh, let's see. I want to see. All right. Now, I want to continue a little bit more. As I said, if you have any kind of thoughts like what I said or this point, feel free to write it in the chat. I'll read it and we can have a conversation regarding it at worst. The youth awakening. Speaking about conversion requires pausing to consider youth. The phenomenon of young people, ages roughly 15 to 30, coming to Orthodoxy has become very clear in many churches. For example, in New York, where previous waves of conversion were not known, you'll find today in our Antiochian Cathedral in Brooklyn more than 50 university-age catechumens or very recent converts of every race and religious background, or even of no religious background at all. So very again, this, for example, it's basically me, right? It is also notable that many young men with little prior contact with Christianity are drawn to the order, hierarchy, and seriousness they find in Orthodoxy, especially because, at least from my experience, a lot of these people, they just looked at Protestant Roman Catholic and like the way things are dumbed down, or they looked at Islam and the way things were already, but so they kind of just thought, okay, religion, because in their heart, I think a lot of people understand that religion has to have this authenticity and seriousness, and Orthodoxy reflects all that. That's why it appeals to people. Young people in general summarize the reason for their choice of Orthodoxy in these words: we were looking for a real spiritual life, and we found it in Orthodoxy. Before Orthodoxy became more widely known, many of these same people will leave rationalistic Western Christianity for Eastern religions, seeking out various spirituality in religions like Hinduism and Buddhism, not knowing that authentic spirituality already existed in Eastern Christianity. Yeah, I mean, this was, and you see this in, I mean, believe it or not, this point, you'd think this was only in the West. But I mean, even in Turkey, even here in Turkey, you don't have people that become literally Hindus and Buddhists, but like you get people that are like super into it, right? Like they're not this like, but they'll be super into various things. Like they talk about chakras and stuff. Like I'm serious. So it's not like this is this is a problem more than you think. It's not just a Western problem. Youth admire the authenticity, dignity, and spirituality they find in Orthodoxy. They discover aesthetic and moral seriousness that offers them an alternative to the relativistic, fragmented culture they experience in society. Yeah, but nothing more to comment on that. In addition, many young Americans now long for a Christian community and seek it in traditional churches. Very good analysis. Traditional churches. They want tradition. Authentic apostolic tradition is what they want. It's very good that they understand what draws people. It is no exaggeration to say that mysticism is what mostly strongly draws them to Orthodoxy. They are captivated by the mystery they experience, whether in the various liturgical services or in the sacred arts such as architecture, icons, and music. Any visitor to Orthodox monasteries in America will notice the abundance of monks and nuns who are themselves young. My feedback on this, on mysticism, is like mysticism. Um, it draws to, in what way does it draw to? It's Orthodox mysticism that draws people to Orthodoxy. I think it's very important qualification. It's not mysticism as a general category, because as a general category, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan. When I'm talking about general category, what do I mean? I mean, like, just completely weird and nonsensical, like mystic yogi practices you see in Buddhism and Hinduism, or you sometimes see in even in Roman Catholicism or in Protestantism, right? Like speaking in tongues supposedly, or just charisma, like playing guitar during worship and just having the feeling in your bosom, right? Like you see this, like there is this fake mysticism in Protestant, like that feeling in your bosom, right? It's like that my feeling, my religious feeling is dictating the reality for me. Like I just have this feeling that this religion is. That's not the kind of mysticism that he's not speaking about this, but it's Orthodox mysticism. Or what is Orthodox mysticism? It's experience with God. That is Orthodox mysticism. And what is the theological mechanical, like theologically mechanical aspect that allows for this mystical experience? It's not just, this guy in the cave prayed for 20 years and he's like super wise and speaks like an ancient Chinese wise sage. That's not the kind of mysticism that they're talking about. It's not like these weird stories, or it's not just these things. Of course there's weird stories, of course there's weird stories in Orthodoxy. That's natural. If it's in mysticism, it's natural. But it's important that the reason why this is possible, authentically possible, that there can be mysticism in the Orthodox Church, is because it is genuinely possible to experience God face to face. And how is it possible? Well, Exodus talks about this, right? Like the prophets had experience with God. The prophets experienced God face to face. They spoke with him. They experienced his presence. They were in like vicinity of him, and they were filled with the Holy Spirit. And we're not just talking about Holy Spirit again, feeling in your little belly, but we're talking about genuinely filled and speaking through the Holy Spirit and living through the Holy Spirit, right? And being guided through the Holy Spirit in a real, authentic sense. This is because of essence energy distinction, which is subject to massive debate. It's because what you see in other theologies, there's an inaccessible aspect of God. That is, you can't really access God as he is. He is completely different from you. And of course, he's completely different, right? But where is the bridge, right? There are two different worlds. Where is the bridge that uh, bridges the gap between those two worlds? It's the fact that we participate God in his energy, that we experience in him. So when, for example, the super mystic sagely monk goes to a cave and prays and repents and has spiritual warfare, fights with demons, and is a spiritual, like he's basically the main character in Doom, but in spiritual sense. What happens is that the grace of God is genuinely that he genuinely is participating in the very grace that God by his nature has. So what God has by nature, he is partaking of it, right? And that's why, like leavened bread, when we're talking about leavened bread, and I have this in a video of the symbolism of leavened bread, right? I forgot the exact terms, but like the yeast, right? Like the bacteria, if the bacteria is bad, the entire bread goes bad, right? So the bacteria um, has to be good, right? And that like yeast that we're speaking about, that lump, being Christ, being the body of Christ, is what, like we are the bad parts of the bread, so to speak, right? It is like we are unleavened in the sense that if we were the yeast, if we were kind of like part of the bread, the whole bread will go bad. But because the bread is the body of Christ, which is why it's leavened, right? It's the body of Christ. um it's the opposite effect. What is infected becomes healthy, right? And it's the same in regards with our human nature, in our soul, in our body, even. That this true experience with God that we truly have in the sacraments and our religious experience is what draws people to Orthodoxy, right? It's the fact that we can experience God that is ultimately what makes mysticism so appealing to orthodoxy. When you go to a liturgy, Saint Paul speaks about this, right, in his epistle to the Hebrews. And yes, Saint Paul wrote the epistle to the Hebrews. He speaks about how the liturgical worship of what you see, like the liturgical worship, is a reflection of the heavenly worship, like what's going up in heaven. When you go to a church, you go to heaven, right? You go up to heaven. You go with the angels, you go with the saints. Look up when you go to North Church. What do you see? You see the saints. You see the icons of the saints. You turn to your left, you see images of Christ doing things that you read about from the Bible. You look at the right, you see various different saints, all in a deified holy state. You look up and you see, wow, that's Christ and that's Holy Spirit as a dove coming down, right? So, oh, it's the face of Christ. I look up, I look around me. What do I see? I see this is the liturgical synaxis, right? Father Peter here talks about this very often. What is the liturgical synaxis? It's the gathering together of the council of gods, actually, right? Um, that not God's in the Mormon sense, obviously, but in the sense of God's holy ones, the God's holy friends, God's saints, the angels, and those who join the rank, their rank. Those are the saints. We all partake of the same religious, mystical, spiritual experience that they have every single moment in time. We partake of that when we enter into the church, right? And we even partake of that when we pray in our home, and of course. But the church is the spiritual. It's a spiritual hospital, but it's very different from modern hospitals in the sense that when you go to a modern hospitals, it makes you even sicker, right? Because it's so sterile, right? But when you go to a spiritual hospital, um, it's not sterile. It's right in your face, right? Everything is part of it. This is why when Protestants talk about icon veneration and they look at, for example, oh, yeah, this is from the 2nd century, but these are just images. They don't venerate those images. It's absolute nonsense because it completely goes against the very idea of a liturgical synaxis. St. Paul, again, talks about how it's a copy, and this concept is in the Old Testament, right? God showed Moses how the worship is, and that the tabernacle worship is going to be a model of that. If it's going to be a model of that, then every single part of it, right? If it's going to be a model of heaven, then every single part of this heaven is modeled after it. And if there are images there, well, I mean, obviously, that's pointing out to the holy ones. It's part of the liturgical worship. So even if you don't kiss it, right? Let's say, even if they didn't kiss it, let's say, even if the fact that they are in that liturgical worship space already shows that there is some kind of, you can call this minimal veneration, right? By nature. And certain specific activities, acts of veneration might have developed over time, doesn't change the fact that there was still some kind of form of veneration and it just became stronger over time. So when I see again like these kinds, this is why people don't become Orthodox and they move away from Protestantism. It's because like this kind of understanding that you have in Protestantism in order to refute icon veneration actually explains the compartmentalization of the faith. It doesn't view the faith as holistic as it is supposed to be, and that's a huge issue. Again, Tsar Orthodox Emperor says even here in South Africa, the local huge Greek Orthodox has been outgrown by a multitude of young converts. Yeah, I mean it's only natural, right? Like it's gonna happen. You had in the 1st century, you had a lot of Jewish, churches and temples, who like ethnically Jewish. They were Christian, right? And over time, you suddenly have a lot of random Greek-speaking people coming in. A lot of Armenian people or Greek people or, you know, uh, people of again Illyrian people. Then you have like Italians coming in, North Africans coming in. It's like, what's going on over here, right? Like in the 1st century, and I think that's kind of happening again, right? In very like small scale. Anyways, where was I? I mean, I yapped for a long time, so kind of missed. It's also yes, we said this. Youth admire the authenticity, dignity, and spirituality they find in orthodoxy. They discover an aesthetic and moral seriousness that offers them an alternative to the relativistic, fragmented culture they experience in society. Sorry. In addition, many young Americans now long for Christian community and seek it in traditional churches. It is no exaggeration. Um, I'm sorry, I already read this. Their model is holiness, and the church is a Eucharistic communion in which they find the family they have missed. Yeah, this is the point that I was making. They are tired of ideology. That is, they are tired of worldly ideology. They seek holiness, serious faith, and love. They do not want a faith that is merely reactionary. Very key point. What is an example of merely reactionary faith? Anti-Protestantism. But we attacked Protestantism. Like we criticize Protestantism. What do you mean anti? I'm saying in the sense that there's some people that, in trying to criticize Protestantism, they think that they just need to go to the opposite extreme of what they perceive to be Protestantism, and that's going to be Orthodox. For example, there are people that they're like some people that argue as if you cannot understand the Bible if you don't have anyone interpreting it for you. To the point, like it's kind of papist, right? It's kind of like you can't have or know doctrine unless you have a big man with a funny hat sitting somewhere in Italy that's going to tell you this is this and that is that. And of course, he constantly conflicts with himself, and the thing that's supposed to be so open and clear ends up becoming subject to massive debate. But the idea that a lot of these people have is that we need to have a center of infallibility, and this center of infallibility that we have is what allows us to have true belief. And again, they still actually run into the same problem because it's actually a problem that's going to happen in any worldview. But the point that I'm trying to make is that you see even a lot of Orthodox, like they'll talk as if you cannot understand the scripture or anything unless it's interpreted or commentated. It's very important to understand that the point that we are making against Protestantism is that they don't have a normative authority, right? A normative authority does interpret scripture, and it is our guide for interpretation. And the communion of the saints, the teaching of the saints in communion with each other, is what also allows us to understand that this is the universal teaching of Christianity in matters of faith. And so, yes, that's also our interpretive tool. But there are also parts of the Bible that's open to interpretation. There's parts of the Bible that you can come to understand um, by reading the Bible holistically without necessarily having some guy in your ear telling this is the way that it should be. So, the reason why I'm talking about this is because then you have a lot of these people that they'll come to the conclusion that, well, you don't need to read the Bible, you just need to read the fathers and what they write about the Bible, and that's not true, right? That's kind of what I'm getting at. Like you have this again, it's not like a super common extreme, but it's something that I see it enough to talk about it. So I think that's an example of like merely reactionary, right? And in the opposite sense, Nora lacks religion. Their seriousness can push them toward rigidity and extremism if they do not have mature and okay, before I get to the point, I'll check the comments. Maybe there are some people who okay, no new comments. So because this is a important point. Just give me a second, please. Needed to drink after yapping so much. Their seriousness can push them toward rigidity and extremism if they do not have mature and balanced spiritual fathers. Yeah, absolutely. Spiritual fathers and just role models, spiritual guides. It's very important. It's very important for people, for making people Orthodox, but also keeping them Orthodox. It's very important. The same internet that plays a positive role in introducing them to Orthodoxy also plays a negative role if they encounter rigid and fundamentalist Orthodox preachers. Despite the existence of extremism, they remain in the church because of the peace they feel there. They accept rules and boundaries that heal them, while at the same time rejecting other rules that they think shackle them and block their freedom. This is it's kind of a weird. I mean, if anyone is willing to kind of I didn't understand what he meant by this, so maybe I'm a dum dum, but I have difficulty. I don't really understand what he's trying to say. Is he trying to say that? Is he trying to say this is a good thing, or is he trying to say that there are people that try to do things on their own? It feels like he's saying that there are people that are trying to do things on their own because of their fundamentalism. That is, they're trying to do things on their own head because they think they're smarter than everyone else and they don't need to listen to anyone. And They think that they can change the church alone. That every priest who believes uh, like something that's against what they believe, they have to come and fix the church of their serious heresy. Like, the church today is apparently wrong about original sins, so we have to teach them. Actually, we're like Calvinists when it comes to original sin. You just need to know about this because why? Because the fathers use the word guilt, as if that means something, as if that means anything. Like, fathers use the word guilt, so actually we have guilt from original sin. That's what it means. It means the exact same thing as the Calvinists teach about original sin. Oh, so yeah, infants are going to be damned and they're going to go to hell. Oh, actually, not enough, because that will be too right. I think he's talking about these kinds of people, right? Like, who think they know everything, and they're just trying to fix orthodoxy. They're going to save orthodoxy. Um, and yeah, I mean, you see a lot of this. Um, of course, there's going to be people saying, "David, he's talking about you." Uh, what was that? What was the meme? Diego Simeone thinks Angelotti's tactics are too defensive. Like, it's like, I mean, if I fit this description, then he's right to criticize me. I mean, I don't like the word fundamentalist. Even the term rigid, it's a bit questionable. But but a lot of people have this like instant reaction. Oh, he means the internet. He means this guy. He means the ortho bro guy. It's not necessarily the case. I mean, there was an episode where Metropolitan John at one point he did Q&As in the Discord that I currently own, and then he stopped. A couple of months later, he made a video about like people online doing stupid things and trying to be authority figures by themselves and all this kind of stuff. And people said, "Oh, look, he's now counter signaling, like people who like hate what we do, right? He's counter signaling these internet orthobros, like Jadar." But then there's they're actually on completely good terms and they go to the same conference, so they don't have any issue, right? And they completely misread what he said, and I think that's some people are going to do that. But I mean, I see this online all the time, like people that are like, for example, 15-year-old, they have no clue what they're talking about. They control plus F a bunch of stuff, like they read stuff for 6 months, and they suddenly have either like this urge to, I'm going to convince the entire world to become Orthodox, or which is a good intention, but or like they're just going to, oh, Orthodoxy is actually exactly like Roman Catholicism, except we don't have the filioque and some other things. So I'm going to make Orthodoxy like Roman Catholicism in various fundamental ways. And all these people are trying to make it different. They're trying to make it more different than we are. And these people are bad. We can't have that. And we're going to fix that, right? Like these kinds of people, you see this a lot. You see this very often. Um, and it's a serious problem. It's a very serious problem. Um, and people need to be, I mean, people need to be able to tackle that, I think. But you don't tackle it, and this is something I want to say. So it's going to be a huge feedback that I'll give. If there's any clergy, I mean, there are people watching this, right? Like, I've it's come to my attention, right? Like that have those roles. Here's my feedback: you don't hand wave the things on the internet, because everyone's using the internet, right? Um, it's like, how should I say? This kind of music is bad, so I'll just cease my association with music in general. You can't do that. Okay, so Orthodox clergy, if they want to have their word in and to prevent bad influences from people who don't know what they're doing, they have to be able to engage in the online sphere, and they also have to be able to engage in that culture, right? I'm not saying obviously like monks in the spirit, like yeah, they don't have to need to. And I'm not saying every single clergy have to do this, but we need more outspoken clergy that's able to challenge certain things. And another point I want to make is that even clergy are sometimes limited in doing the right thing. Just a very simple example I'll give. The video I made, and like it's people think of it as a drama video. The video I did on Archbishop Alexander Golitsyn, the whole, it was like back in the meme virus era. I think it's 5 years ago. Where I defended Father Peter Hears, and I think it was a very professional. Like, I don't remember exact details, but I don't think I said anything hurtful. I don't think I stepped on anyone's toes. I made very, I will say, mature points. That's my own take. Maybe I'm wrong, but I made mature points on the matter, and I pointed out certain important things, like Archbishop Alexander Golitsyn being an Origenist and basically saying the Fifth Ecumenical Council was wrong in condemning Origin. I mean, this is not something a bishop should be saying. It's actually a bigger danger than a lot of people think. I don't think a clergy will be able to call that into attention. Otherwise, there will be a civil war in Orthodoxy. And it's something that, people like us have. And I'm not saying it's a good thing that we have to like make videos. Like, I don't want to do that kind of stuff. I and I'll say this only in this stream. I deleted and privated some videos because they had a lot of views, but they were not about Orthodox Christianity, right? Like they were about Orthodox Christianity, like the Mole Monster video. I removed that because when someone checks the most popular videos on my channel, I don't want them to see church fathers on women. Like, it's got blown out of proportion, and you know right? Like, or the mole monster. I don't want people to see that on the top, right? I don't want that to be what defines me. So I just thought to myself, I'll just private them because I don't, this is not what I'm primarily about, right? If they had less views, maybe I'd like, even some I'd still remove because I just thought it was not a good video and I disagreed with what I said in the past. But yeah, like, it's not something that I love doing or it should be done. But sometimes you have to be able to speak on important matters, like the Archbishop Alexander Golitsyn case, because there was something unjust happening and something unwise happening, and someone had to take a stand and at least say something, right? And I'm glad that I did that. I won't remove that. But uh, again, like, it's very important that clergy engage with social media in a better way, and that they also know what the issues people have and how to properly address the questions that these people have. Because here's another unfortunate thing, is that education, religious education, is at an all-time low, which is why it's taken up by random autistic people. And like myself, uh, right, I mean, I won't want to call myself a teacher, but like, I also have read a lot of things where, I mean, I should only be reading if I'm studying it as a PhD, right? Or ideally, I should be reading these many things just for making videos on YouTube, right? Um, I think that we need to have more professional people, professional and knowledgeable people who know what they're talking about, engaging in these spaces a lot more often. And people want it too, right? Like, people really enjoy it when they see a Father Josiah Trenum video because they really like to hear what he talks about. They like what Bishop Irenaeus says. Um, and I'm saying this as someone who criticizes Father Josiah Trenum very heavily. I'm not like a super big fan. I think the marriage conference thing was an absolute fiasco, and he needs to be accountable for that. But he, we need more people like him, right? We need more people who engages like him, and I'm trying to give constructive criticism, right? I'm not trying to pull Father Josiah Trenum down. I'm not trying to be um, a super negative person. But this is something that we need to think about, right, more often, because this attitude that some clergy have and some Orthodox people have, like, internet not important, right? It's, oh yeah, oh yeah. Now I understand why you have this question. You got it from the internet. You got, oh, you got this from a YouTube channel. Oh, you got this argument. Oh, you heard this from a YouTube video. Oh, in the kind of condescensionary vein, you can't do that. I don't think it's not positive. It doesn't uplift people. It doesn't help people. You have to be able to tell them, look, the internet is a huge library, right? That's what you have to say. The internet is a huge library. Um, you need a library, but think of it like a sport, right? Like, you need a library. You need research. You need to get the theory right when you're, for example, playing a sport, or like maybe boxing, football, basketball. You need the theory, but you also need to go to the field and play, right? You need those two things. And you know what? You don't even need the books. As long as you go out and play, right? That's the most important part. And here, play is referring to going to an Orthodox church, praying, right? As long as you, that's the most important part. But of course, when you have a challenge about orthodoxy, like, oh, this verse in the Bible, Father is greater than I. It's difficult to understand. How do I best understand this? That's when you go to the library, right? Um, and if that library happened to be that person's parish priest or spiritual father, that's the best. But in this world, in the modern world, even a peasant is going to have a lot of different questions in their minds. And when I say, I don't say it in an insulting way, like literally, like someone in the village, right? They're going to hear certain things from somewhere, and they're going to want to know more in detail. And they'll want to hear that answer from you. And if they don't hear that answer from you, they're going to go to the library on their own, and they'll find a random book. And turns out that random book um, has a bunch of curses on it, and it damages their soul, right? You don't want that to happen. So that's it's the biggest, most important feedback I can give on this point. That I think it's we need more people that know what they're doing, that are able to answer questions and explain certain things. Because look, guys, there are certain priests, I'm not going to name names because I'm not going to name names, that know less than what you will expect about their own religion. Sadly, very, very sadly, there are priests that are like that. And that's one of the reasons why people go online, right? People go to online because there's a lack of serious education in Orthodoxy. And education is not just in university. Anyways, I yapped so long. I want to see. Um, so I think you articulated that point perfectly. I mean, thank you so much, Nate P. Really appreciate it for the nice comments. Um, I want to check some of right. So it says Salomao Bulgaro. David, here in Brazil, our Orthodox community is small, but in the last years, the church is practically majority converts right now. The Catholics and Protestants are going psycho because of it. Yeah, yeah, you're gonna get more than that. It's really nice to hear that, especially yeah. I've heard nice things about like Orthodoxy in Brazil. Um, I think he means that the fundamentalist people are submit themselves to the church. Yeah, I think so too. I think so. We have a lot of those, right? Unfortunately. Uh, Mike says, I will not allow anything negative spoken about Metropolitan Saba. This man has devoted his whole life to the church and his flock. God bless him. His love for the people is incredibile, incredible. Um, yeah, I mean, as I said, I've heard very, very good things about him. Those Saint Chrysostom punks are so, oh my gosh, yeah. Like TikTok, people should spend less time on TikTok and YouTube Shorts. For absolutely, like it's very like that kind of stuff is actually that kind of stuff. You go to the library, you open up a very dark book, and you scroll through the pages. It's really addicting. And then on page 146, it hits you with the negative 30 IQ curse, and it's irreparable, right? Like it's kind of moving to that direction. People definitely like we need, for example, we need clergy. I'm 100% like not exaggerating. We need clergy that's going to tell, don't uh don't try to learn about orthodoxy on TikTok. Stay away from TikTok. Like should have like people saying that. In regards to fathers, yeah, man, I saw the video about Christian cooperation with Gavin. I never watched it, but it was odd. I didn't realize it. Yeah, I mean, I think that's an absolute fiasco. I mean, it's as if we don't have any Orthodox like married people in our space. So it's really strange to me, and I don't think the explanation, if there was any, was really adequate. And like the defense of like, well, we have to engage with them. Yes, we have to engage with them, but marriage is a sacrament, and you're inviting someone who doesn't really fully believe marriage is a sacrament, and it's about Orthodox marriage, And I'll be completely honest, a non-Orthodox person does not understand Orthodox marriage. I'll say that much. And a non-Orthodox person does not understand Orthodox marriage. Then they're never going to be able to understand Orthodox marriage. They're not going to have the slightest clue. They might have some ideas. And by the way, like Gavin Orthodox marriage, I mean, take marriage advice from me. Right? I mean, I'd be more help than whatever he'll give you help for. The guy who loves Barack Obama and thinks that he's someone that we should learn from. No, thank you. If that's kind of the discernment that we see from him, I don't want to see any discernment from him in regards to marriage. None of that. No need for him. Difficulties of converts. Perhaps the first difficulty lies in a lack of follow up and personal discipleship, which are not always available. This is incredibly true. It's because it's very difficult to be someone who can guide people and be their spiritual father. It's very difficult. Many cradle Orthodox welcome converts joyfully, but do not make the required effort to disciple them and provide the spiritual care they need, or they become indifferent to this responsibility and caught up in their own cares. Let me tell you that you're lucky to have many Orthodox cradles welcome converts. There are people that are lucky to just have that. I'll tell you that much. There are people that don't even have that. They don't have cradles welcome. They have like the stories that I told you, right? It's not necessarily something I experienced because like I'm already kind of in. So, but you get people again. They're not excited to see converts. Their first reaction is, "Why would you be Orthodox?" Like they really don't understand why anyone like what that what why are you Orthodox? They will be if you told them that I was Muslim, but then I became Roman Catholic. It's like, oh yeah, that's nice. Or if someone said I became Muslim, it's like, oh yeah, I can understand. They're not going to say nice, right? Cradle Orthodox not going to say nice to that, but it's like, yeah, yeah, I understand. And they might even throw in, at the end of the day, we worship God, right? Like that. But when you tell them you become Orthodox, like there's some people that are like this, as I said. So it doesn't compute. They're shocked. It's something they don't expect to hear. It's like why are you Orthodox? What's wrong with you? It's like, okay, well, it's good that you're Orthodox, but don't be weird about it. Um, so yeah, people like this. Yeah, you should be happy to have it. But I mean, this is a serious problem, right? All kind of jokes aside, this is a serious problem. Um, People like cradle Orthodox, I think, have a huge duty to at least help the integration process of a lot of the converts into the Orthodox faith, but in a correct way. Because when I say integration, it's not like, oh well, you got to do these Russian traditions and know about Russian like no, not that kind of stuff, but integrate them into the parish. And if you're in the United States, that integration, number one key thing about that integration, you speak English. Okay, you speak English. You speak the language of the country you're in, not the country you're from. You can speak the language of the country you're from when you're at home, but speak the language of the country you're in. Please do that, right? That's the most important thing that you can have in any part of the world, right? Um, if you're in Japan, speak Japanese. If you're, I don't know, if you're in Uganda, speak whatever 40 languages that they have in Uganda. If you're in Brazil, speak Portuguese or Spanish to to joke with the people. Or if you're in Spain, speak Portuguese. Jokes aside, I mean, speak in their language, right? This is very important, and people need to do that because, like, you're in the United States or you're in Spain, you're in that country, and you're in the church of that country, and the people of that country are coming to you. Worst thing you can do is push them away by just keeping things in your own language. And it's not just prayer, right? Like not just prayer, but just kind of, coffee hour. Like you're sitting at a table with a couple of other people, and all these people are speaking Greek to each other. Well, you don't know any Greek, so I guess you got to learn it. The truth is that the Orthodox world in general lived for centuries under persecution, which made the preservation of the faith and the continuity of Orthodox existence the priority of overshadowing all else. The prohibition of Christian evangelization under threat of death made mission entirely forgotten. Thus, many Orthodox lost the experience of dealing with converts. That's the point that I was making, yeah. since they were unable to evangelize for centuries and forgot that great task. Their indifference to evangelization was further deepened in America by living for a long time as ethnic community churches. I'm so thankful to Metropolitan Saba for calling this into attention. Yeah, exactly. Orthodox should not be indifferent to evangelization. Orthodox should not have the attitude of, we're not trying to tell people to be. No, you should be telling people to become Orthodox. Okay, let's be real. You like, if it's possible for you, if it's possible for you, for and someone like has that, invite them to the church. Tell them, look, you want to experience something, come to the Orthodox Church, and if you have questions, we can answer. Right? You don't have to be pushy about it, but like invite them, get them to the church, get them to the community, get them to be interested in Orthodoxy, to see it, to experience it, talk about it to them, right? Do these things. You got to do these things. You can't just like I've heard so many bad stories. I'm not going to tell about them. I trust me. I am currently a treasure trove of horrible experiences, like the exact opposite of the way things are supposed to. But I'm not going to talk about them because I think it's bad in form. But I do feel the need to tell you that this is a problem. I'll tell you that much. And it's a problem on a clerical level too. That's what I'm trying to get at. And this needs to be fixed. From the 1980s onward, they began to see the new conversion movement, which began by the Holy Spirit, not by cradle Orthodox themselves. But the conflation of the social culture they carried from their homelands with their Orthodox faith did not sufficiently equip them to care for new converts and help them to acquire the Orthodox mind. Or phronemism, you get some fundamentalists, right? Like in his terminology, they don't like this term of phronema. Oh, you don't need Orthodox, like this Orthodox phronema, emphasization. It's weird. It's you don't actually need it, right? Like no, you need Orthodox phronema. What is it exactly? What is exactly Orthodox phronema? In a very short say, yeah, you can call it Orthodox mindset, but it sounds kind of like you know, uh, like gym mindset or like grind set or whatever kind of stuff that you see on masculinity TikTok, right? Uh, the Orthodox mindset is like it's not something specific. It's just kind of adapting yourself to the mode of thinking within the Orthodox Church, in how the world is seen, in how certain different things within the faith and also in the world interact, in how you understand, for example, theology. If for example someone comes from a scholastic Roman Catholic background to become Orthodox, that scholastic background, of course, the analytical positive parts they stayed. It's a quality, but that scholasticism has to go. For example, right, has to replace. You have to enter into a different mode of thinking. So it's an example, or thinking about morality not as following a set of rules, but as uh, but as trying to be like God, which is imitating the virtues of God as followed by the saints. That's an Orthodox example of Orthodox phronema, right? Being able to see that you have serious spiritual faults that you didn't even realize that you had, that's Orthodox phronema, right? These are examples of it. And these are real things. And when you don't have it, you don't understand the Bible, you don't understand the church. Now people might say, but there are people that become Orthodox. Does that mean that they have the Orthodox phronema? No, it doesn't mean that. Uh, it's they might have certain, like you might have certain things that align with it before. It's just kind of like the way of looking at the world, the way of looking at religion, the way you look at your relationship with Christ, and um, how you understand your place and what you want to do with your life and in your future, and what kind of talent you want to bring to the Lord, and all of these things. It's a heavenly mode of thinking, right? As I said, uh, it's difficult to completely like explain what it is because it is so many things at the same time, right? But all I'm going to say is that you have to read the saints, and you have to understand the way they think, because a lot of people read like the Bible and read. Of course, you should read the Bible. Of course, you should read the saints. But a lot of these people read these things, and they don't really understand. Like they don't really get it, right? For example, they might see a canon about priests should not kill people even in self-defense, and they'll say, "Wow, this is really about how we should not hurt people." That's not what's being said. Okay, it's not. It's not saying right. Like you have people again. Um, you have people that are saying, "Well, I guess all these saints they were persecuted for their faith. I guess we should be pacifists. I guess if a thief comes to my house, I should not defend my children and my wife. We should all be well. We should all just go away like the saints. We should just be martyred because that's the right thing to do." That's not Orthodox Fronema, okay? That's just um, zeal without knowledge and imitation without understanding. And Orthodox Fronema, in the simplest way, is virtue, having divine virtues, and there's a perfect word that I forgot. And it's so sad that I'm not a native English speaker. I forgot this word. Discernment. Thank God. I prayed to God and He answered so quickly. Discernment, right? Discernment, wisdom. This is Orthodox Fronema. You need these things. Let's see. So I got, before I check the rest of the comments, I got a very nice 10 euro support by Anargiri or Anargiroi. If you, depending on how you want to read, modern Greek, Anargiri, ancient, that is real Greek, Anargiroi. Anyways, just kidding. For a beer or what suits you, as the Christmas Lent begins in a few days. Thank you very much. Really appreciate. Really appreciate. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe one day God will help us meet for some burgers with those beers. Thank you very much, Octavian, for the $10 super chat. Really appreciate it. And let's see. Yeah, Cradle Orthodox know nothing about the faith in Greece. It's I mean, I guess you're in Greece. In terms of what I've heard about Greece is that they are paying special they're paying special attention, like they're having catechisms in Greece in churches to point out that, like, yeah, people don't know a lot, so they need to learn about the faith. And I think at least they're trying to, but it needs to be done way more, because the church in Greece is kind of powerful. I mean, they can use their power. I think they really, what they need. What the Church of Greece needs in administration. They need, people are going to get really mad at me saying this. They need, the president of Turkey. They need someone like him, because a lot of you guys like here, like he's, and I'm not a fanboy of him. Like, I'm critical. I'm not the biggest fan. But a lot of people are like, oh, he's an Ottomanist. He's like, what, like, in terms of, like, you need someone who knows, first of all, knows how to speak well, knows how to captivate people, and he, like, gets things done. Like, you kind of need someone like that in the church, kind of leading, like someone who's very, like, they're just going to get straight to doing things, and anyone that opposes them, they're just going to get rid of them. Basically, like, they're going to see a problem, right? People in Greece have issues, like, relating to knowing to the faith, and this runs into issues. Okay, we're going to have catechism in every single churches, and the churches that don't do that, we're gonna give a hard time to them, like this kind of stuff. Like, not exactly the nicest, but it's just, you need someone who's going to get things done, because the church in Greece has significant power, both like the ecumenical patriarchate, obviously, but also the Church of Greece, like the jurisdiction of Athens. About country, this is a different topic, but yeah, uh, Hellenic, Hellenic, yeah. I mean, uh, it will be pretty funny. But I hope you guys get what I'm trying to get at. David, any advice for Eastern Orthodox Christians from Oriental background who face social challenges from family members or community? Yeah, this is kind of difficult because I mean, from my personal experience, I didn't. This is something that you get like I got it myself, not from my family, but from random people. Like in Turkey, I remember this one. Like when I was a very new convert, I had a I had a necklace outside because I didn't know better. Typically, you're told to wear or crosses inside, especially those we get our baptism. Anyways, it was outside, and it was a place where I was working at, and some guy like asked me, "Hey, like, is this for decoration?" And I was like, "No." Is your family like Christian? Like you come from your foreign backgrounds? Like, no, they're both. No, they're both of Turkish origin, and keyword Turkish origin, but not the ethnicity itself. But yeah, they're of that origin. Yes, it's like, oh well, so what's the deal with this necklace then? You just like it? It's like, no, I'm a Christian. It's like, oh wait, why are you a Christian? It's like I started explaining, I think Orthodoxy makes sense and it's spiritually fulfilling and blah 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 blah. And he's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, look, here's what I think. Like he's what he said. Look, I am a child. I am a son of a conservative household that the household couldn't conserve. I will never forget that saying because it's so cool. Not like in a good way. It's really um it's a really cool saying. It's like I'm from a conservative family that they couldn't conserve me. And he basically means that comes from an Islamic conservative family, and but he himself doesn't really care. Probably drinks, blah blah blah. Doesn't care about the Islamic laws. And he's like, look, yeah, I get, but it's like your family is Muslim. Like, what are you doing? Like, that's basically what he says. Like, what are you doing? Just be Muslim, right? Like, why are you Christian? What's the point? So I got people like that, but I think the example you're talking about is like way more extreme because you probably have people, whether you're Syriac or Coptic, that are telling you're betraying your heritage. And like in terms of what one can say, is that look, my heritage is Abraham, my heritage is Moses, my heritage is the Christian faith, my heritage is the apostles, and my heritage is Saint Paul, who last video says Christ is in two forms. Like that's my heritage. Um, Obviously, I'm not like don't argue with your family members because that's not going to work out because your dad, you know what your dad's going to say. For example, if you argue religion with him, he's going to say, "Oh, that's yeah. So how much money are you making again?" Like that's what he's going to say, right? It's like, so you live at your own house? No, you live here with me. You work at a job? No, you're a 16-year-old kid, or maybe you go to high school, university. So tell me why I should listen to anything you said. Like it's unfortunate, but that's basically what they're going to say. So nothing that you can do in explaining yourself is going to help you with like father and mother. But in terms of like what you can say is like my heritage is the Orthodox faith. This is and I think I'm keeping with it. This is not me betraying it. But in terms of what you can do, I mean, other than reading the lives of the saints, particularly those who suffered persecution, especially those like prior to the conversion of the Roman Empire into Christianity, there's nothing else that I can unfortunately read. Is just use the saints as a guide, use certain figures like I mean, kind of Prophet Moses, like he was uh like the prophets in general were not all necessarily seen kindly by their own people. So there's a big lesson in that. And I think just understanding and praying and going to Orthodox Church and enduring the suffering is the best that you can do. Is endurance, right? Enduring is the best that you can do because if it's from your family members, that's what I'm guessing. There's not like until you move out and live by yourself away from them, there's nothing you can do to like fix that, right? Um, anyways, Kenneth Ferrari does not end. Yeah, I mean, because again, as I said, like your father or your mother is going to like, unless you're making six figures and you're making more money than your parents, they're not going to, or like equivalent money, they're not going to take you seriously. And even if you make equivalent, they might still not take you seriously. Now if you're like super successful and they're like, oh, you're my favorite son, you're my honor, then you can like, maybe there will be some kind of, but no, you guys need to understand the way that parents and like just older people think. Like they think you guys are kids, you don't know what you're talking about. You might be 30 years old, you don't know what you're talking about, right? Like, Dave, when we do a genealogy test, I did it like 10 years ago. Don't talk to me about genealogy tests. I did that stuff ages ago. I know what I am. um Saint Martin of Tours, whose memory we celebrate today, had pagan parents yet converted. He's known as the protector of France to this day. Yeah, that's a very good example. Uh, There, could you point me to some material that I could read to understand monarchical treatise? Dr. Bo Branson. He's basically the main person that is excellent at explaining it, because it's in the Church Fathers and he explains how they are in the Church Fathers. And yeah, he has a 5-part lecture on it. You can find this on Kai's channel, Orthodox Shahada. There's a playlist. Click on that and you see I also have a stream with Dr. Bo Branson where we do talk about monarchical Trinitarianism. So you can also watch that stream. Um, so yes. Anyways, let's continue with what we were talking about with the speech of Metropolitan Saba. I mean, let me see. I mean, it seems like there's still a lot of things. So I might have to go a bit quick because it's been 2 hours and I think we're only like half, right? Let's see. Yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, let's get through this quickly. We can get through this quickly. Difficulties of converts. Perhaps the first difficulty lies in the lack of follow-up personal discipleship, which is I think this, yeah, we read this. They're indifferent responsive, caught up in their own cares. Just give me 1 second while you read this in your brain. Really needed that water. The conflation of their social culture with religious culture, it does damage to them, blah, blah, blah. Here lies perhaps the greatest difficulty converts face. Acquiring the Orthodox way of thinking does not come from books, but from the life in the Holy Spirit, right? The analogy that I used, right? If you're going to play soccer, yes, theory is good. You'll need theory, especially in the high levels, but you just need to go to the field and play, right? It's the same thing, right? You just need to go to the church. You just need to engage in the spiritual life. And this requires long-term rootedness in orthodoxy. The Orthodox faith is not an idea, but a lived experience of repentance and communion with God. There's danger that orthodoxy becomes an ideology. That is something that is divorced from practice. This is an important point, right? That's what he's meaning. Conversion to orthodoxy is not so much as an event, uh, as an event, as a journey and a process. Converts need accompaniment after receiving baptism and chrismation. Very key point. For me, for example, when I didn't know anything. I started learning, and look, I had some friends, and like before I became baptized, and they really helped me. And my priest was incredibly helpful. Um, but we need so much of this, right? This is very important, right? Um, like a lot of what I know today, and there's no like, I'm not gonna play like it's like my like I had to work. I had to work for it. A lot of it. But even that 5% help is incredibly important and can be very crucial. That's a big lesson to learn. You can't do these things alone. A decline of zeal is also noticed in some after industry. This is very famous. Happens a lot. There are cases of extremism and fundamentalism and a tendency toward narrow legalism and a kind of theological intellectualism here and there. Yeah. We see this a lot, like a kind of theological intellectual. Oh, gee, I wonder who does this. Now, just like jokes aside, I mean, the kind of like pontificating on theological matters on your own, and having your own opinions and opining on those opinions. You don't need to do that here, right? Um, it's actually quite often, and also, and another reason why whatever you're opining on probably already has an answer, and you might be way off, right? So unless you're opining on something and it turns out that you are following the strands of the father, what the fathers are actually saying, and you're actually on that wavelength, you should probably like not do it at all. And even when you do that, you should probably do it like as little as you possibly can, right? Many who are coming to the church today are psychologically, emotionally, socially wounded. Absolutely correct. Which requires experienced and mature spiritual fathers and mothers. Absolutely correct. But there is a massive shortage of spiritual fathers and mothers, especially those who care about the people. And look, it's not easy to be a spiritual father or mother. It's very difficult. It's very, very difficult. All patristic teaching is based on the church as a spiritual hospital that heals people from the consequences of their passions. A great task faced Orthodox Christians in America, transforming the church from a club or religious association that is something that is merely like you don't go to church to talk to people, it's just an ethnic club, or like just, oh, just here to gather every Sunday and then we go home. No, it's a Eucharistic community. What does that mean? You're partaking of Christ, you're partaking of Christ with each other and even in each other. What does that mean? Because the blood of Christ is in all Christians, right? That is why we are all brothers and sisters in Christ, because we all have the same, like, we all share the same blood in our veins, right? It's running through us right now. It's the blood of Christ. That's why we are genuine, siblings, right? Spiritual siblings. And that needs to be lived, right? That needs to be lived. It is difficult to form an American Orthodox community because of the dominance of individualism. The reality that believers do not live clustered around the church in one neighborhood, and a drain of human energy from working long hours that leave the room, like this is a real concern. I have nothing to say about it. Like, this is just a real concern. It's just the way the world is. Um, these factors have not yet helped to crystallize in American Orthodoxy. Meanwhile, immigrant believers still mix their social culture with Orthodoxy in ways that do not help converts distinguish what is authentic from what is custom. And here talks about uh, that Orthodox ethics, this is a key point, are not merely principles and rules, but a practical reflection of the faith. It's the practice of virtues, right? It's the practice of virtues. It's not mere rules from a rule book that you're following. Of course, there are rules. The rules are to guide you, right? But it's a real spiritual state that's the important part, right? Um, that's the main understanding that we must have. It's not like Kantian ethics. Orthodoxy is not Kantian. Uh, as I mentioned earlier, alongside the positive face on the internet that introduces to Orthodoxy, there's a negative face that people encounter in Orthodox that's not always authoritative or theologically sound. I think there's a very good qualification. It has to be theologically sound, but it's consistent with the Orthodox spiritual life. That's how we know it's theologically sound. The open space allows anyone to speak about anything. Fundamentalism, in its negative, rigid sense. I don't really know what he means by fundamentalism. I'm sorry, but I hope this is expanded, because it's a very loaded term, and loaded terms are not defined properly. In my opinion, has also increased because of much that is available online. It always feels like he's kind like, this is a term that's like kind of throwing a bone to like the more like liberal elements. Like, look, I'm talking about fundamentals, like whatever you think fundamentalism means. Like, it's like that's kind of what it's. But from my experience, Orthodox bishops don't do this too often. You know who does this kind of stuff? Actually, the ecumenical patriarchate. They're very intelligent. Like, the ecumenical patriarchate is very intelligent. Um, for example, I want to talk about this briefly. There's one like recent thing, like Patriarch Bartholomew said. It's like tradition is not conservative; it's creative, right? That statement from Patriarch Bartholomew, and everyone thought he was like, and he's like, he praised Vatican II. Is like, Vatican II is really good, especially etc. etc. And a lot of people thought that he's like basically like, oh yeah, conservatism bad and being traditional is bad. When when Patriarch Bartholomew said, like, and look, Patriarch Bartholomew is indeed, he's very, let's say, the kindest way of saying this, he's very diplomatic, too diplomatic with the Roman Catholics. And that's the genuine point of criticism. But I don't know. From the culture where I'm in, it seemed more like he was saying, "Yeah, you guys as creators really, man, we really have to. You really are excellent examples at this." It's kind of like a Byzantine irony. Like it's like, yeah, this is really good. I wonder why we're not doing it. Like because he's the man in the driver's seat, right? Um, but when you look at orthodoxy as like kind of acted, is it like creative in the sense of Vatican II? If you look at the Council of Crete, in a way, yes, it's power grabby. But if you look at the internal politics, you will not believe how like even like how they are willing to use even the smallest canonical violation against you. You'll not believe. So maybe it's because I do know a little bit about that space that most people in the United States don't. That to me, that statement was like a complete irony, I will say. So it's a Byzantine irony. Um, and the funnier part is he probably does believe tradition has to be creative. It's just that his definition of creative is nothing like, I don't think it's much like Vatican II, but it's power grabby, right? Let's say. And it's still close to Vatican II because what you see in the Council of Crete, I don't even want to call it a council because I think it's not, I don't think it's reflecting, it doesn't reflect Orthodox teaching, and it contradicts canons. But again, these people, they're really good at talking about canonical violations when it suits them, right? So I said a bit too much. Anyways, as I mentioned, alongside positive face, okay, yeah, fundamentalism, blah, blah. We must remember that the church has honored only 3 saints with the title theologian. Yeah, this is a point. I'm interested where he's going with this point. As Presbytera Evgenia Constantinou writes in her book Thinking Orthodox, that's an interesting book to quote. But a lot of people have said very positive things about her, and I don't know much about her, so I'm not going to say anything. I've seen some objectionable things, like speaking from the pulpit in like some like um I don't remember exactly, but there was something like that that it really didn't catch nicely to my eye. But um, most people say positive things about her, so I don't know much about her, and I don't want to judge. Like maybe there's something I don't know about. Anyways, that's the only thing that I had in mind. It's like that seemed very weird to me because a woman speaking from the pulpit is in the church, whatever. The fathers of the church frequently warned against the practice of dabbling in theology as an occasional pastime, attempted to discuss matters beyond one's actual abilities. Amazingly, those whom the fathers were admonishing against theological dabbling were not necessarily people living in the world, with secular careers, jobs, and families as most dabblers are today. St. Gregory the theologian sometimes refused to discuss theology with his own bishops. St. Simeon the new theologian sharply criticized both monks and clergy for discussing theological matters about which they had no real experience. If such warnings can be issued to monks, priests, and bishops, how foolish it is for the rest of us to dabble in theology. Regarding St. Gregory the theologian, um, I can completely imagine him to be, according to the perception of certain people, to be a very unpleasant person. He was definitely a very pleasant person. He's a saint. But just that, I'm pretty sure that most people, if he lived today, most people will say, yeah, this guy, he's very unpleasant because he does have this like very no nonsense attitude. And if I remember correctly, I think it was either Saint Basil the Great or Saint Gregory, but one of the two is really mad at the other. I think it was Saint Gregory the theologian who's really mad at Saint Basil because Saint Basil is the reason he became a bishop. Again, I might have the story completely on the wrong way, but this was, and you'd be surprised how long he like kept that with him. He was really not happy that he was dragged forcefully outside of solitary life. Um, he's a very very interesting, very very interesting saint in that regard. Very very interesting personality. But I think it's that personality that made him so effective. Um, in regards to what's said here, okay, I'm a bit off topic. In regards to this, uh, talking about theology as an occasional pastime, I think this is true. The problem is like we should not be talking about theology as it's not casual. Theology is not a casual conversationary topic. It's serious. It's a very very serious topic, and it's not something that you can talk about like you're talking about like your favorite sports games. Like that Cristiano Ronaldo scored a very good goal, or oh, that Messi is like he's like the best player in the world, man. You can't speak about theology that way, right? Like you can't speak about it in an irreverent, casual sense. It's not an occasional pastime. It's a serious study. And look, even the smallest mistake, like the stumbling that you do, if you keep continuing through that stumbling, that you're going to fall headlong, um, like Judas, right? Like if you follow that heretical like rabbit trail. So theology is incredibly dangerous. It's super dangerous, right? And people have to be incredibly careful about it. I mean, I can't count how many books I've even read about Orthodox theology, and I'm still scared, and I still don't know anything, right? And I'm not saying this in the sense of like trying to be humble. No, it's very deep, and you're going to be completely out of your depth once you actually understand some of the things that are going on. It's very difficult, and as I said, there are so many like intricate moving parts and ways of conveying something that you just don't understand because you're just not an ancient person and you're not studied in the way an ancient person thinks. And I guess Protestants have this problem with the Bible because a lot of the things that, like, an ancient person or someone who's well versed in kind of ancient mode of thinking will like easily understand. Protestants read it at face value and they just think in a completely strange direction. Anyways, um, and yeah, but beyond one's actual abilities, right? Your kind of spiritual experience and also your God-given intellect are very important aspects in which and also your personal virtues and characteristics. A prideful person can never be a good theologian, no matter how convincing they might sound. A prideful person is not a good theologian. Um, because, well, a prideful person is never going to want to learn. They're going to think that they always know the best. They're going to think that they don't need to study more. They don't need to learn. They already know everything. So a private person will never be the best, be a good theologian. If we can even speak about being a good theologian, I never say that so and so is a theologian, or I never call myself one. And if someone called me a theologian, I will immediately say I'm not. Um, I'm interested in theology. I talk about theology. I'm not a theologian because theologian in our church it really is different, right? Like this title, only a couple of people having this says three. There's Hezekiah. There's some other saints that have this title, right? But yeah, that's typically known. Yeah, there's three theologians that the church knows. John the Apostle, Saint Stephen the theologian. There's Hezekiah that has the title. Anyways, it's a different topic. This title is distributed so fewly for a very good reason, right? And that reason, I'm not going to go against that reason, right? I'm not going to go against that convention. Impact of the increasing influx. This is also a serious issue. Most Orthodox churches in North America have seen increased attendance. And this influx is like a flood. This comparison is accurate, and he sees a lot of catechumens in that church. And this is raises a very serious question about the way in which the church can receive them. I want to check the chat just to see. Michael St. Joseph says, I just joined the stream, but I thought Metropolitan Saba stream was great. I thought speech was great. I think so too. Yeah, I think it's a really good speech so far. And I really think it's on incredibly important points. I think the casualness comes from American evangelicals and Baptists. They talk about theology like it's a flavor of ice cream or something. Yeah, I mean, let me give you an example. And this is from an old cradle, right? And he's Orthodox, right? And this was kind of scandalous to me. And I guess he's not necessarily he's not talking about theology, but he's talking about saints, right? And you can guess in which country this happened. I'm not gonna you can guess, but all I'm gonna say is like he's old cradle guy, And he's a very pleasant person, by the way. He's a very pleasant person. And they're sitting on a table having coffee hour, and he's talking about, like, the history of, the Greek Orthodox and the church and things like that. And they're just conversing about like church history, and he just like casually says, John Chrysostom, yeah, he's a really amazing personality, but John Chrysostom is just really wrong. Like, John Chrysostom was just he had problems because he was against pagan art, right? And like he just said it so casually, right? It's like he was against pagan art, and it's just like art is art. Art is something deep. You can't go, you can't give that as a reason. And he's like saying this, and the point I make is like he says it like so casual, like John Christian, like as if like Saint John is some dude he met when he was in the military. It's like, oh hey John, what's up man? How you doing? And just dap him up and talking about, I don't know, military stuff. And oh yeah, that guy I know from the military. So he's a super cool dude who drank 5 beers this one time. He's talking about St. John Chrysostom in this way. You can't do that, right? He's not your friend. Um, you can say, like, if you object to it, you could say, look, it's confused. You don't even have to mention St. John Chrysostom. You could just say, I appreciate pagan art, and there was certain opposition for, and they had their own reasons, but it's just this art is important. You can say that. You don't have to be like, yeah, John Chrysostom, that fella, not didn't like art. Yeah, I mean, that casualness is very unfitting. So we shouldn't be having that kind of casualness. So yeah, and I mean it's fitting because you have the Saint John Chrysostom in your profile picture, and um, yeah, it's very fun. Yeah, it's true. Uh, anyways, let's see. All right, let's continue on. While many long-standing beliefs see the converts sort of a renewal of vitality and a spirit to discard their own person. This is a very good point. Yeah, there's a lot of cradles that like converts invited them for their own introspection. So it's very positive for both of them. That's why a lot like these anti-convert cradles are, you know, uh, not exhibiting orthodox phronema, let's say. Not merely as a social religious tradition, many also feel somewhat threatened by the cultural changes occurring in their parish. Yeah, this I hear this, look, we have our own culture here, and you're coming in and you're taking that away from us. It's like, well, the true religion was taken away from me, and no one is saying that you can't share your Greek food or talk about your experiences and have that as a positive influence for us to partake of. But this is not a club for you and 10 old dudes from the nearest coffee shop, right? This is a church. So that's what's important. Many cars bring energy to Zealand, often deep theological literacy. I really appreciate the fact that he makes this point, right? Like, it really shows that, when he talks about, people should discuss theology casually, he's not opposing the fact that people think or discuss or try to understand theology. It's just that, like, he's speaking out against the casualization, but that they have deep theological literacy. Like, they come knowing a lot about orthodoxy in a deep way, and sometimes, for example, those who come from the Protestant tradition, they know a lot about the Bible, right? And someone who has a lot of biblical knowledge, who connected the dots together on certain things, especially with Old Testament symbology and how it relates to the Orthodox Church, those people, for example, are people who actually do know a lot about Orthodoxy in the sense of its teachings in the Bible. But their rapid influx brings other problems: lack of space, insufficient catechetical training, huge problem. And this is precisely why clergy need to have their voices heard on the internet, or at the very least, enthusiastically just collaborate with people like us. If it's just that I think people like we are here, right? Like, insufficient catechetical training, like we are here to help. Like, this is why This is why I have this channel, is to kind of help people understand and know Orthodoxy. It's not just like owning the Roman Catholic. I'm going to own the Protestants. It's not just about that. It's like we're trying to help people understand Orthodoxy and its teachings, right? And it's just kind of a stronger collaboration with Orthodox churches in the United States, and also the people who, as Metropolitan Saba said, had deep, theological literacy, right? Make use of these people too. There are some people who believe that just like teaching the faith, like catechizing and stuff like that, this is something that only the clergy is supposed to do. That's not true. That's not true. It's not something that's specifically reserved to the clergy or to the monks. And if you're going to use examples from the past, okay, you're going to be using examples from the past where people, for the most part, didn't read and were like peasants tilling the fields, and the ones who would read were most likely either nobles or clergy or like super educated people who, if they were Christian, probably would immediately be made clergy, even if they oppose it. I mean, do you want to know why St. Gregory the Theologian was forced to be a bishop? How many people do you know who was educated in philosophy? How many people would you know, realistically, even in Constantinople at that time, that was Christian? He was very Christian, the 4th century Christian, very educated in philosophy and theology, and cares for Christianity enough to want to live a very hardcore, difficult monastic life. I mean, you see this quality, and even today, you saw these qualities in a person. You will say, make that guy a bishop. We don't have enough of people like him. We need to make this guy a bishop. That's what you will say. Any person will naturally say, this guy needs to be made bishop, because these kinds of people, like people who know what they're talking about, they're very rare, right? And if he's talking about something very important, there's so many converts that in the Orthodox Church, we just don't know how to deal with it. We just, again, maybe not enough space in churches, or just insufficient catechetical training, increased pressure on priests. Priests don't have any time. We have a priest shortage. And what's even worse, what's even worse than this? The fact that many priests in the United States have to work multiple jobs to pay for like themselves and for their family. This is a very serious issue, and there needs to be the Orthodox Church, especially in the West, needs to be financially strengthened as well. It needs to get its financial strength somewhere. I don't know where it gets, but it needs to get it somewhere, as long as it's from a legit source. For example, in Greece, the state like pays for the church, because when the state wants to purchase the church lands, they made an agreement that the state will pay for the priests, right? So in Greece, clergy are very well off, right? They can comfortably do their jobs. Um, compared, I'm saying, compared to the United States, where you have priests that have to work multiple jobs, and then they have then they have their parishioners messaging them, saying, Father, I did the thing again, please help me. And they go completely crazy, and the priest can't even see the message. Why? Because the priest is dealing with maybe a 40-year-old, for example, a bit of a crazy woman who is just incredibly confused about certain things. It's like, Father, I really need your help. I need your help. And while he's reading her messages, trying to help her out, he's sitting in front of a guy who is saying, hey, I want to be baptized. I don't have a spiritual father. Can you help me with that, Father? And there are so many things that he has to juggle, right? And that guy then has to go to work, whatever work that is. It's going to tax him a lot, right? Both the state and his mental and physical faculties. So people, like, I don't know how this can be fixed, right? But there needs to be a fix, right? And I think especially, if it has to be from like elite, like backing from like a political lobbying, or backing from rich people who are willing to fund the Orthodox Church out of their own goodness, which more people than you will think exist in this way. There's a lot of people like this, and just like engaging with them, and like however you do it, you need to do it. It's very important. um, And even in the ecumenical patriarchate, it's a very we have a very different system because of the relationship with the patriarchate with the Turkish government. And I've seen kind of how things can play out in real time, because then it can go really badly in the sense that yes, you're getting support from these rich people, but it's not from the goodness of their hearts, and they want to do certain things their way in the church, and they have the power to even like get rid of even a bishop, right? Like they can go tell bishop, yeah, hey, um, you're making this guy chant, huh? You're making this guy chant. Well, that guy, I don't like him. Get rid of him, and the bishop follows him, right? Like so, you can get things like this as well. And I said too much again, but um, it needs to be. It's a serious problem, right? I don't know how to fix it, right? But we need rich Orthodox people, basically, because I can't find any other way to fix kind of like this priest shortage and the funding of the priests, and it's really really important. But as I said, with relation to catechetical training, again, look, we are here. We are here. We only want to help people, right? That's all we want to do. We only want to help people, um, and if there's a recognition of that, then I think that will be excellent. But of course, it has to be very intelligent, because you don't want to recognize every silly person, right? You don't want to recognize every silly person. You don't want to recognize any grifter, because you see a lot of these people in these spaces, and even in Orthodoxy, they some of them have infected these spaces. There are no serious departments dedicated to preparing new believers and to accompanying them spiritually as required. Various reasons bring new converts to the Orthodox Church, but really it is due to the Church's deliberate work to. Yeah, this is he's. I really appreciate this point. Yeah, he's honest in acknowledging. Look, people don't become Orthodox because our bishops and clergy are doing such a good job, right? It's because the nature of Orthodoxy is what brings them. So we need to use that. And integration of the increased converts is a problem because of lack of spiritual fathers, and also because of languages, right? Some parents do not use English. This is a problem. If you're in the United States, use English. Every single person in your church is Greek or Russian or Romanian or whatever. I don't care. You're going to use English, because you know what? You might speak that language, but one day someone is going to come in through that door, and it's the only church that they can go to. They're going to go through that door. They're going to look around. They're going to say, "This is nice, but I don't know what the heck these people are talking about." And they're just their own. They're just their own thing. So I guess this is just not for me. And they're going to turn back and go away. And then, look, I'm not saying that because I'm like we. This is not just to maximize converts. Um, these people are going to end up being judged, right? That person who left, he's going to be judged. You for not accommodating him properly when you could. I mean, it's scary, right? It's scary. That's why being clergy is a scary job. That's why people didn't want to be. That's why again, a great theologian, he was kicking and screaming. He's like, "Don't make me bishop! Don't make me bishop!" Because he was aware that once he was made bishop, things were going to be incredibly difficult. And Congress find it very difficult to follow the services. Huge, huge issue. Especially, by the way, here's a double point. The services are catechetical. So you're talking about like insufficient catechism. If you don't have services in English, and if you don't allow the converts for them to follow the services, you're missing on the chance to catechize them even further. It's a serious problem. This influx requires more priests, deacons, lay people capable of serving newcomers, uh, both in the church and also and online. And this is precisely what most Orthodox churches lack. There is a growing number of priests exhausted by the increased workload. Even before this influx, we were struggling to recruit enough new priests to replace those who retire. Now, I want to say regarding to this, the worst thing that the Orthodox Church could do is to scrape the bottom of the barrel and get like people who should not be priests into the priesthood. That will be worse than the intense workload. Let me tell you that. Okay, let me tell you that. Um, we have to get the right people into the priesthood, into the clerical order. That's very important. I have to note that. Now the challenge is much greater. We need many more clergy and hundreds more parishes to accommodate all those who wish to join the Orthodox Church. Some of our church buildings are so full on Sundays that they exceed the fire code, and parking lots cannot fit any more cars. How many inquirers have turned around and left because they could not fit into the temple? I mean, I guess this is a serious issue. I'm just the first time I'm hearing of this. Like a church being so full that they just have to. I mean, I've only experienced this in feast days, and it's when like in Pascha, right? Like in major feast days when this happens. How many of our existing faithful have been neglected because the priest must know ration his time in pastoral care? Oh, this happens so many times. And how many clergy marriages and families are strayed under this pressure? Yeah, this is an excellent point. We must respond to this urgent challenge. It's not it's not just a problem, it's also a great opportunity. Uh man, we are very close to the end. This is taking much longer than I anticipated. Um, and let's say, oh, we have Cleve to Antiquity in the chat. Hello to him. And just like an announcement, I forgot the exact date, but in the future, in the near future, collaboration with Cleve to Antiquities coming soon. He says in America they send people to three physical seminaries. In other countries, priests are trained via apprenticeship. Father David was suggesting this model in ancient faith the other day. Um, like apprenticeship, yeah. Like you will have people, for example, serving in the altar. Maybe they will learn to chant and just serve in the church in these ways. And like by practice, yeah, that's a very good method. I think both. Uh, I think like you need more seminaries, but you also need like physical, practical apprenticeship. It's absolutely important. Uh, my modest parish in Kansas has had a full parking lot on occasion in Kansas, by the way. Can't like, and I'm not saying this like I'm not like trying to like um say like oh look even in Kansas like I'm saying Kansas in the sense like I mean it's it's a very how should I say, it's a very conservative American place. Like it's a very typical conservative American place, right? Like it's kind of like the deep South. Like it has its like very much American culture. So, an Orthodox church being so full, packed to the brim Kansas. I mean, it's not surprising at the same in one sense, but it's also like it shows like it's a real thing, right? Like the growth of Orthodoxy is a real thing. Um, it's reaching into like the deep parts of the United States, not just like New York or the big cities. It's reaching to the deep parts of the United States. It's something to think about. I don't think there's a lot of like Russians and Greeks that moved to Kansas. Of course, there's some, obviously, but like not every like not a lot of them. For example, right? It seems probably most of those people that are in those churches are probably like full-blooded American men and women. Many priests pose the fundamental question: how do we help converts acquire the Orthodox mindset? In baptism, they become children of God and receive divine grace, but they need to grow in it. Neither teaching nor immersion alone suffices to acquire this mind. Yeah, I mean, he's such an excellent speech. Yeah, he really gets it. Neither just teaching doesn't work. Just practice or just going to church doesn't work either. You have to have both, right? And even both together, there needs to be something more, right? The principal question, therefore, is what is required of the church in the face of this influx? This is what I hope we can discuss so that we may reach a plan or a set of road markers for developing our pastoral and evangelistic service. Teaching without practice produces converts who are easily fragile. True formation must join both knowledge and lived experience. Maybe some of you might remember I made a video years ago talking about the two aspects of theology, um, like the scholastic aspect, not the scholastic in the sense of like Roman Catholic Middle Ages scholasticism, but like in terms of like knowledge, right? Learning about the faith, the philosophy of theology, and the ascetic theology, the lived experience. Here you have it. Here you have it. This point, right? Um, this is a key part of Orthodox theology. Orthodox theology exists in two natures, so to speak. It exists in two natures. It exists in the faith, in the teaching of the church, and it's our road, the pathway to increasing that, and it's also experienced theology. It's ascetic theology by experience, right? For example, even the unlearned will be submitting to the creed, right? To the creed, and like understand it and to learn about it and to teach it, right? Even someone who didn't know how to read and write in the fourth or fifth century will be teaching the creed, right? When they're talking about Christianity. Um, Attendance at services, fasting, confession, serving others, reading scripture and the lives of the saints, and having a personal prayer rule under the guidance of a spiritual father, these disciplines must be the foundation of parish life for all the faithful, rather than being replaced by programs or organizational activities like Greek Fest. Look, Greek Fest is very nice. I've been to Greek Fest. It's pretty cool. But Greek Fest is it's Greek Fest. It's not Greek Orthodox Fest. Of course, in Greek Fest, they sometimes have people visit the church, and there's Orthodox people that became Orthodox because of Greek Fest. But it's like they can be better, right? I'm not gonna diss Greek Fest, right? But they can be better, right? And all of these things, like serving others, this is not just kind of like personal experience, but serving in the church when you're able to, right? Like you have a beautiful voice. Unfortunately, um, unfortunately, God allowed for Satan to curse my voice so that my singing voice is horrible. Suppose it is to direct me to other paths in life. It's really horrible. And also, I was I was cursed with nose issues. I can't breathe from the nose. It's very difficult for me to breathe from the nose, which is why talking for an extended amount of time is actually very difficult for me. That's why I have to like breathe deeply, and I might have annoyed some of you with like me doing this because of my nose. But yeah, uh, serving others, like if it's not by chanting, you can do this by serving in the altar or just helping people in general, right, in the church, spending time in the church to help the priest or even the bishop with something. Be their water boy, right? Like do something, for example. Attendance at services, obviously fasting, obviously, and not just fasting from food, not just food fasting important, but not just fasting from food. There's many aspects of fasting. Fasting from earthly pleasures, fasting from vain pleasures, fasting from, yes, this makes people mad, relations. Doing this is, at least trying it is good. Confession, right? Reading scripture, lives of the saints. These are all essential parts of the Christian life. But the Christian life is so deep, it's not even just these things. It's also very important to point this out. The most important means is common prayer, frequent services, friendship, and times of instruction, right? The church being a community. Preparing qualified sponsors among the laity may play a role even more important than a classroom. Very good point. Formation begins with the priest, but does not end with him. I'd say more, but I don't want to. I mean, this has been going on for such a long time. Uh, so yeah, and let's go. The quality sponsor God, yes, godparents, sponsors. We really need a lot more of them, and um, it needs to be people who stand in the church for a long time, are in good standing. And a big problem about like people leaving over time is that it like the people who will otherwise be able to assist and help, it's not good to have them leave, or good for have them distance or be distanced from the church. So that's a point to consider. uh some difficulties that hinder evangelization. Most churches facing this community conversion, yes, shortage of priests, and priests who cannot evangelize because they're filled to the brim with other responsibilities, budget issues, coordinated planning, right? The absence of coordinated planning, right? Again, look, it doesn't have to just be in the parish. People like us, right? We are here. We're ready to help. Since most missions rely on individual effort that more than an organized system, uh, yeah, this is so true, right? Mission parishes. It's just a loving effort, usually of a single priest. And he's just doing these things by himself, and it's so difficult and taxing on him. Like he needs, for example, a deacon. He needs a deacon, for example. Might even need a bishop, but if the bishop is okay, but he needs a deacon, right, to help him out. He needs a couple of people that he can trust in the parish to help him out, right? There's serious things, especially if you're a mission parish. You really need to help out um, your priest in that regard. Where the existing archdioceses are still insufficient, and the work remains based on individual rather than collective efforts. The influx of increasing numbers make church space insufficient. Stirs grumbling. I mean, this seems very serious. I've never heard of this again, as I said. Negatively affecting newcomers. Um, the reality is that the health mission comes from, okay. At the same time, there's a danger that we rejoice in numbers and forget that conversion is a lifetime process of repentance, not numerical recruitment. Very important point. Very important point. It's a point that I made in a different video, like conversion in Orthodoxy. I think it was the title of the video. I talked about this, like why, like the reason why, like one of the reasons why Orthodox numbers might seem lower than other religions is because for us, conversion is just much more like if you say the sinner's prayer in a lot of like Protestant, like you're Protestant now, you're Christian now. It's like, but you if you say you're Orthodox but you're not in the church, you can't say you're Orthodox, for example, right? Like that's so there's a lot more requirements, right? There's gatekeeping in a positive sense, right? Um, we must be careful lest today's converts become tomorrow's apostates. Yes, quite important. Many priests agree that providing a warm, family-like pastoral environment strengthens. By the way, how do you stop tomorrow's apostates? Teaching, teaching the faith, have them understand the faith, so that when they have questions in their minds, they also have the answers. You have to give them the answers. These people, if they don't get the answers, they either apostatize or just completely blind and they go full fideism. And that's not good either. That doesn't help them either. Many priests agree that providing warm, fan-like pastoral environment strengthens the sense of belonging to the church as the living body of Christ. It's also observed that converts grow quickly where they're known by name. Shared meals, especially Middle Eastern cuisine. Yeah, very, very interesting. Yeah, very nice attempt at playing up, especially his cuisine. But playing, encouraging. I mean, I like it when a bishop is like adding character because it's really obvious. It's like, look, you got. He's basically saying, look, we got the best cuisine. Like, no one needs to debate about it. And if you told this to Greeks, like Greeks gonna say, no, we had the best cuisine. So I really enjoy like it shows some kind of like personality, and people like personality in even like in serious figures. Play an encouraging role in fostering participation in parish life as the collaborative work inside and outside the church building and praying together. This is actually this like just it's not just like going to church and going to the services. It's kind of just hey, we're going to do like this agape vespers together, right? Like we're going to the small chapel, we're going to be together, just us. Hey, you're going to read this and this part, I'm going to read that part, like you want to do that. That's, I think, like super huge, right? Like there's nothing in like my best experiences in church, like when I'm praying, always when it's like just a couple of people in a very like we're close together and we're going to do a vespers. It can take 30 minutes, it can take an hour, it can take, doesn't matter how long. We're just doing it together. Like I'm reading the Psalms and the Tesagian hymn and like this kind of stuff, and other people are chanting the hymns, and someone else, like just a religious service, couple of people together, like doing it together. And it's like everyone's like close, like physically close to each other. It can be in a chapel, even in a huge church, like you're just doing this together. That to me, that's like the best. Like I really like that. I like it's my absolute favorite because, and there's like you in liturgy sometimes like my mind wanders and I start thinking about like in those, like I'm completely focused in prayer, like it just makes me like click in. There's something about like praying in a small chapel with a group of people where everyone is participating. Doesn't matter how bad someone might sing the hymn, he is singing, and there's no like, oh man, I sing badly. No, you're going to say it, you're going to intone certain things, and you might be intoning, you might be messing up the intoning. Doesn't matter. Like there's no judging, there's no like no one's doing a performance. It's just what comes from your heart, and I love that. Like that's to me, that's the high. That's the best. For other people, like just literally in a huge church or massive feast, for them that might be the best. But for me, small, like liturgic, like that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. And you know what? You do this regularly, the apostasy probability goes like zero. Like you really become like it really turns you religious. Like you, it really turns you away from the world that you're coming from and allows you to enter into a completely different world. That's my personal experience. When I was in, for example, Mount Athos, like when I was in Mount Athos, I will still think about like things in the world and stuff like that. But like those kinds of services, I loved it. Um, but even in like liturgy in Mount Athos, even like I will wonder. So again, that might be like I'd be really interested. Like, what do you guys think? Like, do you think this is um like what do you think? Like my, as I said, like the biggest recommendation, just like have like 4, 5, 6, 7 people together doing prayer services, everyone doing it together, reading the different parts of the hymn. It's really good. It's really really good. It's the first like the first time I talk about like prayer service so passionately in the channel, but because I try to keep things to myself, but um, it just reminded me of this, right? Like um, organizing like these kinds of, and it can be like very short. It can be 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Um, it's really helpful. Let's see. B Sirac, $20. No message, but $20 super chat. Really appreciate. Thank you very much, man. Really appreciate the support. And he said, "Okay, now I'm number one again. You're number one, man. You're number one. You're. It's not about the money. It's not about you're number one. That's what's important. I agree with you. Smaller is more meaningful and homely. It creates stronger bonds. Yeah, it's really nice. I like small parishes. Like I like small chapels. That's my thing. Um, forming let me see if I yeah forming a personal relationship with newcomers greatly eases their integration. Whereas bureaucracy of parish entry discourages, yeah, this is bureaucracy of parish entry discourages the enthusiasm that first drew them to the parish. This is, yeah, that's it's the worst thing. It's the worst thing ever. I can tell you that much. Orthodoxy is deeply relational, the only true incarnation of experience in humanity. If you cannot offer personal relationships that lead others to Christ, then no one can. Some who labor in this field prefer that the catechumen not be less than you only about others suggest 2 years. It's kind of, it's just like he just says this, and then there's just you just like, yeah, by the way, there's debate on this. Moving on, my take, I think it should be like how it was between 1 year and 3 years. I think less than a year, no, catechumen should not be less than a year. Absolutely not. I think less than a year if you are like adapting super well. Like if you're adapting really, really well, less than a year can be okay. But then it could be like if you have multiple catechumens, it might be like you're picking and choosing. So having like a static, like 2 year or 3 year period might be better, so that that kind of like an issue might not occur. Because sometimes in these parishes, right, like you have some people who are like dedicated and they're in the catechumen for years, and then someone comes in, um, and to expedite certain things, maybe they are baptized very quickly, and of course that's going to create resentment in people because he's going to think, well, why is the rule applying to me but not to him? Like, am I doing something wrong? And it's just going to cause confusion and resentment, and that's not good. So maybe just like a static 2 year requirement might be the best. There remains a lack of clarity and consensus about modes of reception. It's a good thing to call attention to, especially given the many variations we encounter among those coming from Protestant churches that either do not recognize baptism or whose baptism occurred in the customary or by so-called pseudo churches. Well, I have a very simple solution. I have a very, very, very simple solution, and I invite all Orthodox churches in following this solution. You see someone who's converting to the Orthodox faith, whether they are not from a religious background or from a Protestant background, Islamic background, Roman Catholic background, non-Chalcedonian background, whatever. Here's what you do: you baptize them. It's done, right? No problem. Uh, it's the best mode of reception. You don't have water issues, right? Water is cheap. You don't have problems of running water. You don't have problems about, well, like, were you baptized in the proper way? You just say, look, that baptism was not a baptism because it's not done in the Orthodox Church. So we're going to do the real thing here. And you do the real thing here, and that's just it. And all the people who are crying about this, they can just, eat grass for all I care. Because the fact of the matter is, as Saint Basil the Great says in his canons, baptism is the rule. It's the other modes of the chrismation and even confession is economia. He uses these terms, by the way, like exactly these terms, like akrivia and economia. Um, so I think this is a very easy problem to solve. This is not a problem at all. This is only a problem it's only a problem because of dialogue, right? We're in dialogue with the Roman Catholics. That's what you hear a lot. We're in dialogue with them. We're talking about some things, something in the future might happen. So to keep our relations, at a good level, we have to chrismate them when they come to us. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Uh, and by Protestants, well, Protestants also, and it's like, what about, for example, someone who was immersed only one time, for example? We'll think about it, right? Yeah, you see, it causes more problems than it's supposed to solve. And then by Protestants, again, you have, well, was it tried immersion? Well, I don't know. Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. What should we do? Uh, and of course, like, in most cases, they're going to baptize. But again, just baptize, because sometimes people lie. Sometimes people lie. That's another thing. Like, people sometimes lie. Of course, people can be lying about not receiving Orthodox baptism, and they might say, I didn't receive it, but, well, that can be proven to, like, the church has documents on its own, right? But um, like, again, people might just lie, or they might misremember, because people might, for example, be immersed one time in their pool, and they remember it as triple immersion in the sea. They just got the details wrong. These things happen, right? This is real. This is a real thing that happens, right? Like, people just misremember. They don't exactly remember how it was done. Maybe they were immersed 2 times for whatever reason, or maybe they were immersed, but instead of being immersed in water, they were immersed in, I don't know, chocolate pudding, and they call that baptism. Um, so the best and simple way is just baptize them. I really don't see why this needs to be a bigger issue. I know why it's a bigger issue, because of ecumenism and dialogue, but that's not ecumenism and dialogue is not more important um, than a single convert. I'll tell you that much. There's a great need for pastoral and spiritual guidance training. Orthodoxy is not only a system of doctrinal ideology, but a doctrine incarnated in life. Priests working in evangelization need support, opportunities for mutual learning, and spiritual gatherings specific to them. Oh, yes, priests, even while they're priests, need to be educated. It's true. Priests can't just be like, I'm a priest, I know everything. You can't have that. Catechumenes and newcomers need regional spiritual retreats that help them enter the heart of orthodoxy. I suppose, like monasteries. I get some. There's a receipt through chrismation from Narcos. Should I get baptized again? No, you don't need to get rebaptized. I mean, you were received. It was done in an acceptable way. Chrismation is an acceptable way. It's not an unacceptable way. It's a different way. It's an economia. It's your baptism was activated, so to speak, right? Your baptism in the non-Chalcedonian communion was not a baptism, but when you entered into the Orthodox Church, that baptism through the Holy Spirit, because what was lacking is the Holy Spirit. You got the Holy Spirit in your reception, so it's not a problem. This is exactly what Pope St. Leo says, by the way, that you don't need to. Well, he argues to say that you don't need to rebaptize, so to speak, but it's the point that he makes, right? I like the way my priest described my baptism as a completion of my incomplete process of. Yes, and even Mount Athos like does this, right? Like for example, you might be immersed one time in a Roman Catholic service, and they might not like repeat the entire thing, but they'll just like repeat, do the not repeat. They'll do the things that wasn't done, right? Like I think even Mount Athos, but I might be not 100% correct. But anyways, it goes without saying that we must use the language spoken by the catechumens. Generally, this is English. Uh, yes, but we have begun to need Spanish as well. You don't need Spanish. If you're in the United States, speak English. With some inquirers either coming from Latin America or who need catechetical and liturgical materials in their native tongue to better understand Orthodoxy. Yeah, if they're in Latin America. Um, but I just, look, I'm not like a, I said this in a previous stream and I kind of got criticized for it. I'm not a nationalist anymore. I don't subscribe to this. But if you're in the country, you learn the language of the country. Okay, that's the least you can do, right? If you're not going to bother doing that, then go away, right? It's kind of mean, but like seriously, you got to learn the language. Spend the time to learn the language. It can take 1 year, it can take 2 years. You can be not so smart person, it can take you 3 years. At least try to learn. That's important. There's also a growing need to minister intentionally to the African American faithful and catechumens. Now, he's pandering to Father Samuel Davis, right? And people like him. He's pandering to him definitely. We like special attention. I mean, I guess it makes sense that he is pandering to like the African American faith because I mean, Antioch is, it's not exactly Africa. It's close to Africa, right? So I suppose, right? I suppose it makes sense. In several parishes, there is an urgent need for balance in the use of languages, especially since the stream of migrants from other countries will never cease. There is an urgent need to balance in the use of languages, but as I said, I think if you're in England, if you're in the Anglosphere, you speak the Anglo language. If you're in Brazil, you speak Portuguese again, right? If you're in Spain, you speak Spanish. Um, if you're in France, you don't speak because they don't want you to speak French. So you just got to follow the rules. Yes. But I mean, I was joking about the African American stuff, but I mean, he is correct. I mean, they need orthodoxy too, obviously, right? But you have to be very careful. Like, don't preach liberation theology. Don't have these like stupid icons of Christ looking like an African and his mother looking like. Don't have these icons of Christ looking like George Floyd, okay? Or like Christ in the Virgin Mary and Joseph looking like uh Mexicans who are trying to pass the border, right? Like I was going to say border hopping, but apparently in the United States that's like a race, like a racist term. um I don't want to break Mexican people's heart, but you know what I'm getting. Like it goes against the tradition of iconography, because iconography depicts the heavenly spiritual reality, and particularly with Christ, the fact that he is of the lineage of David, and the Virgin Mary too, by the way, that she is uh, also Judean and of Levite heritage. These are very important to express in iconography. If you don't like, if you try to like introduce like Asian Jesus, like, yeah, let's have Jesus as a wise ancient Chinese sage, and it's like looking like sitting like a Chinese sage with legs crossed, like like Chinese guy go like an East Asian guy go whoa, chanting and like for 5 minutes in the background, giving that kind of you might think it looks cool. It's enculturation. We are mixing the cultures together, and it's because Christ is universal. Now the principle of iconography state that when you're depicting the hypostasis, the person of Christ, here that is his personal characteristics, and his personal characteristic is that he is of the lineage of David. A black or Asian Jesus completely goes against that. It's spitting in the face of that genealogical aspect. It's not because genealogy is important. It's not because of genealogy is important. It's to point out that he is of the Davidic lineage and inheriting the titles of priest, prophet, king. Well, not inheriting. He is the master of these titles, but kind of inheriting them in the worldly sense, so to speak, right? This has to be emphasized. Um, so don't do that. I mean, most people don't do this, but the Father Samuel Davises do this. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, well, he's a person on Twitter. He's an interesting person on Twitter who I think over exaggerates um, certain things. I'll say that much, right? I'll say that much. I'm trying to be careful. This is the new David. I'm trying not to break anyone's heart. I'm trying to be pleasant. Um, in several parishes, there is an urgent need for balance in the use of languages. Yeah, I said this. There's a great opportunity before the Orthodox Church in the evangelistic century. There's also a great opportunity for the end of the stream because we're coming very close to the end. Converts are the first fruits of a broader evangelistic awakening. We need to receive them and prepare them well and strive to create an American Orthodoxy capable of taking roots in society. And he lists important tasks. What are those tasks? How do we respond to the work of the Holy Spirit in creating a contemporary Orthodox culture able to communicate with, interact with, and influence modern Western societies? My suggestion, just let it be. Just let it be. I think culture is natural. A good culture is not a culture that is engineered. Let it be natural. Let it be integrated with high English, like linguistic culture. What do I mean by high linguistic? Well, first of all, use the King James English, right? Don't try to use contemporary English in your liturgical prayers, for example. Use a high language, right? Um, that's what you can do in terms of prayer. In terms of communicating Orthodox values for Western societies, you need to have clergy that are brave, that have their pulse on the country that they live in, and that they understand the issues. For example, we have a big issue of abortion. Talk about abortion. In fact, talk about it so much that you become addicted to talking about the evils of abortion because there's no explanation for like 500 million children dying because of their irresponsible, murderous, the people that are called, quote, parents. That's inexcusable. You need to talk about this, for example. You got to be talking about that. And you have to integrate Orthodox theology into that. How you do it? I mean, clergy can easily do that. Clergy can do that way better than I can. They're the masters of this. They can easily do it. Talk about the important issues that directly conflict with Orthodox teaching. For example, here's one thing the Roman Catholic Church did very well until Vatican II. They were in charge of the Hollywood industry. Like any movie in the Hollywood went through them. Like it was like they will say, this movie, yeah, I don't like its values. The bad guy needs to be boiled in, hot lava at the end of the movie. You do that, maybe we'll pass through, right? Or like they will just control what the movies could produce. And you might talk about muff freedoms and all that kind of stuff, but the fact of the matter is, in politics, what matters is not your principles matter. Principles matter absolutely 100%, but they matter for uh, you and your existence, right? Like you and your community, your faith's existence, right? For example, you need to be principled in the sense that you have to be strong and steadfast in the Orthodox faith, and you can't just be ecumenistic, for example. You can't do that. But in politics, lobby power. That's the most important thing that you can do in politics. Orthodox clergy, the Orthodox Church, the bishops need to do everything that they absolutely can to find the politicians that are, at the very least, compatible in certain ways with what they're trying to do. Like Elpidophorus is doing this with Trump. Look, I don't like Elpidophorus, not one bit. But I do like the fact that he's cozying up with Donald Trump. I do really like that. And I think that we need more clergy that needs to do that. Because the fact of the matter is, you want to cozy up with a politician who is completely okay with murdering a bunch of babies every single year, like millions of them, and he's going to say, "Yeah, this is nice. We should have more of this." Or you're going to cozy up with a politician who, at some point, said, "I'm going to jail the people who actually abort their babies." you know what to do. And look, Trump's life, is it really nice? Is it really like super Christian? Obviously not. I mean, there are very problematic features of his life. Is that your job to go up and say your personal life is a problem? Well, not really, because he is a politician. He is the president of the country. What he does, if he wants to ask you, he'll ask you, right? Then you say, okay, you should not be doing this. Obviously, you should still say you should not be doing. But the point that I'm trying to make, I'm not saying cozy up with right wing politicians, but I am saying that you need to lobby more. Orthodox Christians need to lobby way, 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 way more. Greeks, Armenians, like these kinds of diaspora, as someone of Turkish origin, again, not Turkish, not calling myself, because I don't have the genetic part. It's just the culture part. So just a citizen of that land. I know very well, because Turkish people get really mad, that Armenians and Greeks have integrated their diaspora with each other in a very efficient way, so to push their geopolitical agendas throughout America, right? Like the whole um, a lot of like the discussion about, for example, Armenian genocide, right? The Armenian community did a fantastic job at lobbying for its recognition and its in being talked about, and it really changes like America's foreign policy. For example, it really has an effect on how like the people in the United States view like the world and view certain events that happened in history. I'm saying just do that more, but not just for like Greek causes or Russian causes or whatever, but for the Orthodox cause. I don't see much of a lobbying power. We need to see more lobbying. Orthodox people need to lobby more. Rich Orthodox people who are really Orthodox, you got that money, use that money for, I don't know, do something. Dude, I'm not super educated on lobbying, but I just know the fact that if Orthodox people lobbied in the United States, in England, in France, in Spain, where they lived, to gain control and to influence their nation, you see this question: how do we influence modern Western societies? Metropolitan Saba, I'm saying this in a very honest, realpolitik manner. This is how you do it. This is exactly how you influence Western societies in a good way. Because the fact of the matter is, lobbying and pushing your views to other people's annoyance is going to be something you have to do. It's a natural part of politics. And there's a saying, I think it's from, it's one of the famous three Greek philosophers. The problem with not participating in politics, and by the way, Greeks did not like people who didn't participate in politics. They called them idiots. That's where the term idiot comes from. It means private citizen. That is the citizen who's only concerned with his own livelihood. So they thought you should participate in politics, because the thing about not participating in politics is that eventually you're going to be ruled still. You're just going to be ruled by, maybe it's going to be your inferior, and you're not doing anything about it. That's kind of the point. It's a war, right? It's like politics is a war. It's a really significant fight. And that's kind of why I said, Greece needs Greece, like the Greek church needs a Erdogan like metropolitan, because that's the best thing he does. And like he has such an insane lobbying power in Turkey. Like just now, he jailed his main opposition, and his main opposition is getting like between 500 and 2,000 years in jail for things that he probably didn't commit more than other people have, but he can get away with it. I'm just saying, be more powerful in the political scene. We really need that. We absolutely need that. People should not downplay this fact. And this starts with speaking out on Orthodox issues too. So I really like what a lot of people do on Twitter, talking about like issues related to Orthodoxy. Again, abortion is like the one, but also kind of like just uh, the demographic destruction of Western nations is also something that I think it's something that should be talked about, right? And the casualness of um, relationships, the destruction of of marriage, generally speaking, and the opposition towards having children, anti-natalism. Orthodox clergy needs to outspokenly talk about these things like they're addicted to talking about them. Like they have to every single day they go out, they have to go like the I don't want to say monkey mode because I don't want to associate the word monkey with clergy, but they have to go insane. When people look at them, they have to say, this guy is crazy about this issue, but he seems to have a point. That's what you have to do. I'm harping on this point so much because it's super, super, super important. I mean, if this is the mindset that we need to have. And look, I mean, it's the mindset that the saints even had. You think Saint Cyril of Alexandria just wrote stuff and debated Nestorius? The way he defeated Nestorius was completely through political machination and engineering. It's how he did it. It's how he got himself accepted in the Roman court, uh, the Byzantine court. It's how he entrenched himself into the Byzantine court. Uh, so yeah, we follow the examples of the saints. These are the examples of the saints. He's not the only saint that did this, by the way. Uh, how can we protect Orthodox people in America from the policy of some Orthodox churches, which sadly are currently in conflict among themselves? Well, what do we mean by this? It's kind of it's kind of something confuses me. Like, what do we exactly mean by this? Which sadly are currently in conflict about among themselves. I guess maybe like baptism and things like this. But how can you protect? Well, a way of protecting is to have interjurisdictional synods every now and then. Now, I'm not talking about like super American ecumenical councils, but just interjurisdictional synods in the United States. I think that needs to be more regular. The jurisdictions in the United States need to communicate with each other more. That's what I'm going to say. Yeah. And yes, this means ROCOR too has to speak with EP, right? It means they have to also speak with each other without, getting mad at each other over Ukraine. I mean, they don't. There's not much of a problem in the United States from what I've seen with ROCOR and the EP, but like just allow the conversations to happen between the bishops of different jurisdictions. Allow them to engage with each other. All right. I think that's something they need to do. And just like Pan-Orthodox Vespers, do more of the Pan-Orthodox Vespers. Just don't do it just in Lent. Do it more. How can we, drawing on our rich theological, spiritual, and witness-bearing heritage, build an Orthodox testimony that begins with the needs of the American society in which we live, without denying our mother churches, especially those still undergoing tribulation and persecution? Same answer as I give here. Lobby, 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 lobby. Antiochian Orthodox Church, lobby, 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 lobby. If the Antiochian Orthodox Church had lobbying power, that Syrian terrorist who calls himself president will not be walking in the White House so easily. I will tell you that much. If the Antiochian Church had lobbying power and engaged in that and tried to use its strength to gain some kind of a foothold in American politics, whether it's talking about the issues of today or anything like that, this will not happen. Now, again, I'm not blaming the Antiochian Church, by the way. I'm just saying, like, that's the only way. That's the only way you can do it. Like in the most real sense. In terms of like what you can do, of course, what you can do in the church, I think churches are already doing the best they can in establishing this. In the face of the spread of worldliness in the fabric of daily life, and American society is turning away from its early Christian roots, how can you benefit from the experience of ongoing persecution? Well, this is kind of the same answer. Right? It's the same answer. Lobbying power, money, influence. That's how you do it. Conclusion: there's much to be said about contemporary conversion, and it needs extensive study. But reality places this challenge directly before us today as those entrusted with shepherding the flock of Christ. It is a responsibility before God and history. We must cooperate so that each of us may be strengthened to fulfill it in the best possible way. Hardship of history forced us as Orthodox to forget the basic commandments. Go into all the world, proclaim the gospel to all people. I really, really, really love this. But the Holy Spirit reminds us today that in this blessed land, We now have the freedom and the means to accomplish what the Lord asked of us. What centuries of persecution prevent us from doing? Look, a lot of people a lot of people hate America, hate the United States, and they're like, oh, the United States was founded on Freemasonry and all this kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, okay, like there's like Freemasonic as things and stuff like that, but some of you guys need to realize America is heaven sent for some people. For the Antiochian Christians, it's heaven sent. Like, it's the best thing. America is the best thing that could happen for the Antiochian church, um, in terms of like what could happen in world events. It's the best thing that could happen to them, because the Antiochian church in the Middle East is in a very sad state of affairs. And I'm not saying like it's not because of their fault. I mean, obviously there were certain things that happened that contributed to that, but it's part of life. It's part of it's whatever, right? It's part of life. It happens. But this is a tremendous opportunity, and Metropolitan Saba recognizes this. He's smart enough to recognize this. He's insightful enough to recognize this. You guys need to appreciate the fact that in the United States, you can freely live your religion in some capacity, right? You can choose the community that you live in some ways in the United States, right? Both in terms of financial needs, and I'm not saying things aren't financially difficult in the United States, but in terms of like just general freedom, you have this chance to live the identity that you have. In many other countries, you just don't have. You're just not that lucky, right? Like, and it's not just people living in Islamic countries. Like, you think it's easy in China? No. You think it's easy in Africa? No. It's not easy in the Middle East. It's not easy in Asia. This is just it's not even easy in Europe in some ways, right? In some ways, right? Not talking about Orthodox countries, but non-Orthodox countries in Europe. So America, in this sense, is the best place for a religious person to live in outside of their own country, right? It's the best place to live in general, in the sense of like financial means. It's the best place to live outside of your country for someone in their specific religion. So it's the best. There's absolutely no debate. So we need to understand that that a lot of people in the United States, like Antiochian Orthodox and such, are able to speak freely against the issues that are going on. Even Antiochian, like, they're not, for example, they can't openly speak against the terrorist who calls himself the Syrian president, but many people can, right, in the United States. That's the point that I'm making. And that's why, again, I'm harping so much about, like, America is an excellent opportunity. It's the Roman Empire of our day. The conditions are very similar to the Roman Empire. And when Christians gained power in the Roman Empire, you saw what could happen, right? You saw what could happen. The result was the longest living, most prosperous, most important civilization that could ever exist, the Christian Roman Empire, what people call the Byzantine Empire, which is a fake name. It's an empire. It's Byzantine because it has Constantinople, but it's the Roman Empire. And we saw what happened, right? We saw many excellent Roman figures. We saw the transmission of the Roman tradition, both in the East and the West. It still lives with us today. So this is an excellent opportunity. It's not just about people becoming Orthodox. And I kind of want to end it with this. It's not about people becoming Orthodox. It's also like the world becoming Orthodox. And for Orthodox Christians, here's my general takeaway, what we can do. First of all, recognize that people are becoming Orthodox because of orthodoxy. It's not because anything we are doing. It's not because of me. It's not because of Jay Dyer. It's not because of Metropolitan Saba. It's not because of Patriarch Bartholomew. It's not because of Father Josiah Trenham. None of these people, none of us are the reason. And I'm not even making that, like, I'm not saying, oh, it's God's grace. Obviously, it's God's grace. I'm saying it's because of orthodoxy, in the sense that if what we were preaching was something other than orthodoxy, these people will not become Orthodox because it's Orthodoxy that they're attracted to. That's the point that I'm making. So we need to recognize this. Every Orthodox Christian in the world need to recognize this. Yes, even the ones in Antarctica need to recognize this. Even those in the jungles of somewhere in I don't know, Latin America or Africa need to recognize it. It's they want this fate. Once you understand this, it becomes really easy to like then all you do is just show that fate. You just show that fate. This is the fate. This is the fate that was given to us, and I will explain to you in the best possible way. I see sometimes people like counter signaling people like us and others, and they say, no one became Christian or Orthodox Christian because of a debate. It's factually wrong, by the way. No one became like Orthodox Christian because of a really good argument, but it's because of they're talking about some spiritual experience, blah blah. Here's why that's not true. You can say yes, there are some people that become Orthodox because, again, some spiritual experience they just liked it. But when they have that question, so I don't understand this Bible verse. I don't understand icon veneration. Why are we doing this? It seems kind of close to idolatry. Where did this come from? This they say apostolic, but I don't see it in the Bible. Is it in the Bible? Where is it in the Bible? And these kinds of questions, you know who they're going to come to? They're first going to come to their priest. And let me give you the bad news. Unfortunately, a lot of priests may not be equipped. How many priests are going to be able to tell you the arguments for icon veneration being in the Old Testament? I'm not trying to be condescending. There's real fact. Ask your parish priest, like, hey, do you know, like, I'm like a Protestant asking me about icon veneration in the Bible. Like, would you like? He's going to probably say, well, there are icons in the temple. It's like, yeah, I understand, but like, is there anything about like venerating them? It's like he might make a good explanation, but it's just not going to be as sufficient as it could be, right? If he read St. John Damascus on the holy images, then he will make all of the arguments, right? That's the point that I'm making. So the fact of the matter is there's going to be people that's going to question orthodoxy. And that's why what we do, again, we don't turn people orthodox. What we do is that we show that their wrong conception of orthodoxy is inaccurate and that this is the right conception. And we're showing them orthodoxy. We're helping them show orthodoxy. And if this is what their heart says and they're moved to it, they choose by God's grace to become Orthodox, right? That's why I say none of us turn people Orthodox. We've not made an Orthodox like any of us. If we understand that, then we will understand that what's important is not trying to use economia too much and dumbing down the religion. Why are we doing, prayers for the dead on a Sunday? Isn't this a Saturday thing? Well, people only come on a Sunday, so that's why we do it. You know what that sounds to someone who's to someone who's new? He's going to say, "I thought Orthodoxy took itself very seriously, and like, but they're doing this. Okay, but okay, I guess it's not a big deal, but it's going to stick to people, right? It's going to feel a bit out of place. And you might think what I'm saying is not super important, but it's these really small things that all add up together, and it shows an inaccurate picture of what orthodoxy actually is. And that's what we don't want to do, because that's when they move away from the church. The second thing that you want to do, especially with regards to the shortage of priests, and like in general about a lot of these problems, shortage of priests, is that first of all, you need competent administrators in the church. I think that's the number one. The church has money, the church has funds, the church has the means, but you need competent, just excellent administrators in the church. And I'm not just talking about pencil pushing people. I'm talking about people who can communicate things excellently. I'm talking about people who has authority enough to tell people to do something and they will do something. I'm talking about people who will unite the church, right? They will be able to unite the church and preach orthodoxy and lead the church in an excellent way. We need these kinds of figures. And this is why I like Metropolitan Saba, because he does seem to be this kind of a figure. But we need charismatic leaders, not charismatic leaders in the Protestant sense, but I'm talking about like charismatic in the sense that people will want to listen to them. Father Josiah Trenum, again, big criticisms I have against him. He's a very charismatic priest. He really knows how to engage with the audience. We need more priests like him. Absolutely. Right? Uh, we need more priests like Father Peter Hears, who will absolutely not stop at the things that he believes in, at presenting the teachings of the saints, no matter how many people scream and shout and cry, and unfortunately, how many people try to even conspire against them. Unfortunately, he doesn't stop, right? We need more people like him. We need more people like Father Josiah Trenum. We need more people like Father Stephen DeYoung. Um, Again, do I like everything about Father Stephen DeYoung? This is not about my personal preferences, right? You're getting to a trend. I like Father Peter Hears, for example. I do like him a lot, but most of these clergy, I don't have to like all of them. Bishop Irene, I've heard problematic things, and there's been an issue, but we need more Bishop Irenes, because it's not about, well, he is not perfect, and of course we need more Jay Dyers, right? It's not about he's not perfect or anything, like what your personal misgivings of him might be. Those are unimportant. And the first thing we need to have with Orthodox fundamental is to understand there are personal misgivings. I don't like his tone. I think he's too mean. He's a bit too harsh. He has a weird accent. I don't like the way he's teaching this. These things are very important. Like your personal misgivings are important. Yes, even my misgiving about Father Josiah, which I think is legitimate in terms of like the marriage conference, ultimately let that slide. Maybe there's something he knows better than me, but I will still say this needs to be explained, because people need the explanation. And if it's not something to be explained, well, at least we tried. But anyways, let me just make myself full screen here for a second. And where was I? Where was I going with this? Anyways, we need a lot more people, and we need these people to be managed in an efficient way. Someone who knows how to captivate an audience should not be stuck in a very small parish, for example, right? Like we need someone who knows how to manage things in the church, someone who is willing to make the difficult decisions and face the criticism. For example, what do we need less of? We need less parish councils, for example. I mean, come on. We need not less parish councils, but we need less parish council people. We need less laity trying to do things. We need more bishops. We need bishops to have immediate control over the church they're in, and they're going to make you feel that I am the boss in this church. I'm the boss, and what I say goes. If he is not present, then an archpriest, he's going to be the boss, right? You're going to go to him. He is the boss. He's going to do. And these people again have to be competent. Competency is more important. Quality is more important than quantity. People come to quality, not to quantity. That's the reason why I said we have a priest shortage, but please do not make any idiot a clergy. You will be better off not having clergy. You'd be better off leaving that guy in the desert alone by himself than giving him an incompetent clergy. I'm very serious, because incompetent clergy is going to drive him away from the church. You need competent clergy that don't know what they're doing. How do you get competent clergy that know what they're doing? When you're in your conversion efforts, don't try to appeal to the lowest common denominator like you see in Protestantism and even Roman Catholicism. Actually try to appeal to the high tier, right? Not saying high tier people, but kind of like the people that will be drawn to you that is more intellectually equipped. Like, I mean, just an example. I think recently, what Joshua Shizowade or something like that. His Joshua Shizowade, I think was his name. Aim for people like him, right? Like these are very intelligent people. You might not necessarily agree with every single philosophical views. I mean, he has a very interesting philosophical views about everything actually existing. You have to subscribe to that, but he's a very high quality philosophy person, and people like that. get into academia, get into positions of power, establish power in a positive way in your own church. And that is by doing things within your power in the church. Pay the priests, pay the priests actual money, or at the very least, facilitate something for them so that they are able to live. I don't know how, but you have to do it. It's your responsibility. And that kind of stuff. Uh, Lobbying, yes, I understand the Orthodox Church does not necessarily have a lot of money in the United States, particularly, but lobbying is not just money. Lobbying is influence. Lobbying, getting into the ear of a politician. You know how APAC gets into the ears of many politicians? You got to do that, right? Get into the ear of a politician or two, right? And you're going to see a massive difference. When one day, like that politician is going to be questioned about something bad the Romanian Orthodox Church did, or they canonize the fascists. And he's going to say, wow, if they did that, that's really cool. Like someone who's going to go above and beyond to defend you. You get people like that because, hey, Israel has people like that, and you can see how powerful they are. So, again, I'm not saying that you're going to be to the level of APAC. It's very difficult to get to the level of APAC. But all I'm saying is try. Like, we need to try. That's why I really like, again, Elpidophorus, who's like some of the things that he did with Trump. We need more bishops doing that. More bishops actually engaging with the politics. And whatever you do, stay away from like pro-abortion, like politicians that explicitly preach against the Orthodox faith. Abortion is like the easiest. LGTB marriage, and another easy one, easy disqualifier. Don't team up with these people. Team up with people whose values do not contradict your own. This is not just for the clergy, it's for people in general too. Just if you're going to team up, don't team up with people who contradict your values, but someone who complements those values. And another thing regarding the internet, and what I can say is that coordinate with people like us, people who do videos on Orthodoxy. Coordinate with us. Just it doesn't have to be like give us money. Like, not asking for money necessarily. If you don't have money, give that to the priest. They need more than us. But just kind of like, like have them engage with a wider audience, or have more more like channels and avenues of communication with the Orthodox people, like having a YouTube channel, like maybe in the Antiochian Orthodox Church YouTube channel, or Russian Orthodox, or whatever Orthodox Church YouTube channel. And what is that? It has like maybe short, very high quality, well-made videos and presentations about certain things of the faith. For example, look, again, not a big fan of Trisagian films. You'll notice I'm not a big fan of a lot of personalities, but I still like them for what they do. Trisagian films, hey, maybe Goark should think about just hiring him to make videos about saints and upload it on Goark's website. When you go to the life of Saint Paisios, very well animated life of Saint Paisios, 20-minute video, explains a lot of different, very interesting things about his lives and his teachings. And like you look at the video, so high quality, you have animations and all this kind of stuff, and it's uploaded by the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese. It's amazing. You're going to see you're going to get so much engagement. Do this. Why not do it? I just don't really understand why not. There's a lot of gifted people in this space. Again, like let's talk about like why the Orthodox Church, for example. And look, again, not like let's say me, I explain, or someone else allow them to use the platform to explain key Orthodox views and to harmonize it with the fathers and to point out, this is the teaching of the fathers. Yes, it's going to be controversial, but people are going to need it. And it doesn't have to be controversial. Look, okay, you don't want to be controversial, but about basic things of the faith, essence energy distinction, right? The connection between the practical life and the ascetic life. There are many ways. There's so many ideas that are to be explored. And all of these things can be explored without spending a single dime with a competent administrator. So that's what I think with regards to what needs to be done in the rest of the world, not just in the United States. This goes um, universal. So those are my takes. But um, let's see. Someone said all the newer generation Gark priests I met are amazing, very conservative and charismatic. Yeah, I've heard good things about that too. Like new generation. Like yeah, there's Gark is really like the Greek church in general is like when it's good, it's incredibly good, right? Um, People say when it's bad, it's really bad. I would say when it's bad, it's bad, but when it's good, it's really good, right? It's there's no like go out parish. That's just yeah, it's good. Like there's a few, right? But um, because like the Greek history, is so to speak, like Orthodoxy and its history with kind of like the Greek language and culture, um, the people that tap in it very strongly can do amazing things. Uh, so the issue is ecclesiology, the fact that our hierarchs are so weak on issues. I think he's talking about something else. Hey, David, are you a rocker? No, I'm not. I'm in the ecumenical patriarchate. Um, anyways, I mean that's I've kind of skipped a lot of things, but someone says John Anon Logos Cinema is a new Orthodox Christian film platform that is launching soon, featuring a new American Orthodox documentary. Sounds interesting. Uh, no American politician is going to complement specific Orthodox values. Look, I'm not saying like necessarily that we should have Trump going all we are the third Rome like kind of, I'm not saying something like that. That's ridiculous. What I am saying is that look, American politicians, right? Are all of them even religious? No, but a lot of them have adherence to a poopy hole in the Middle East that's causing so many of the world's problems. Don't ask me for the name. Their name rhymes with is a real hell. And these people are not Jewish. These people are not even a lot of them are evangelicals, but not every single one of them. But still, they influence them. So again, like just if you're talking about like an American politician, let's say talking about family values, like family values are important, blah blah. Be kind of like the supporting voice, like yes, family values, like so important, kind of like a thing. Be associated with that team, and again, I think again Orthodox Christians should try to like, especially clergy, should try to like get into the headlines by obsessively talking about a lot of different issues. Uh, so, yeah, yeah. I think that's all I have for stream. I mean, it's been pretty long. I did not expect this to be 3 hours, but I thank all of you for keeping up with me and bearing with me. And some of you in the chat have been like here the whole stream, listening to me. It's not easy. It's not easy listening. Trust me, it's not easy to speak and give my thoughts. But I enjoyed the stream. I enjoyed all of your company, and I appreciate all of you here. Um, and I'll see all of you next time. And goodbye and take care. I'll see you later.